Assalamu alaikum, and welcome back to another episode of Justice for All Now. I'm your host, Hena Zuberi. This week we've been talking to camp survivors from the concentration camps in East Turkestan. We talked to Gulbahar Jalalova, we talked to Zumra Dawood, and today with us is Qelbinur Sidik. Interpreting for our show is my wonderful colleague, Sirwi Hussein, who is herself is ethnically Uyghur and leads our Save Uyghur campaign. Qelbinur Sidik is 51 years old and one of the few people who can relate their experiences working at a facility of the mass concentration camps across the region. The reason why Qelbinur's experience is so unique amongst the camp survivors, and I will call her a camp survivor, because as you listen to her experience, you will learn that she was used as a tool of oppression against her own people without even realizing in the beginning how she was being used. And her, she says, and you'll hear it directly from her, that she wishes that she could wipe her heart and mind clear of the atrocities that she has witnessed. So she's. I'm really grateful for her to have joined us. Currently, she is in the Netherlands. I believe in the Netherlands. We'll find out more about that with her. She was a well-respected instructor who used to teach children Mandarin Chinese in an elementary school in the region that the Chinese call Xinjiang, but the Uyghurs claim as their homeland, East Turkestan. So let's begin. Assalamu alaikum to both of you.
Wa alaikum assalam, Sister Hena. Salam alaikum, Qelbinur.
So, Sirwi, let's start from the beginning. Can you ask Qelbinur what part of the region she's from, and describe her life before she entered the system of the concentration camps?
Qelbinur, Hena'nınki tunji suali sizga. Sizni mushu Xitoylar mushu lagerda o'qituvchi qilib ashaga akirishdan burun hayotingiz qandaqdi, ya'ni siz qayerda tug'ilib o'sgan, nima ishlarni qilgan, shu to'g'riliq bizga bir so'zlab bergan bo'lsangiz.
Assalomu alaykum. Men vatanimiz Shahidonning Urumchi shahrida tug'ilib, shu Urumchi shahrida oliy maktablarni bitirib, Ashada boshlang'ich maktabda 28 yil o'qituvchi bo'ldim. Ya'ni Xitoy tilida bo'ldim. Bu 28 yil jarayonida o'zimning kasbimni qisman suyib ishlab keldim. 2016 9 aydan boshlab bütün Urumchi shahri bo'yicha hattoki bütün shu Sharqistonda o'qituvchilarni darslarni baholab imtihonlarni elib Xitoy tilida. Shunchalik ig'ir darajada sinov, imtihon, tanlash ishlar. Shu bir mavsum kutilgan tugadi. Buni 2017 yilda aniqlikdan 3-aydan boshlab meni o'zim tanlab shu Sanfango degan yerdagi erlar kampsiga, ya'ni savodsizlarni aşağı ders berishga joyga ibatto deganlar aşağı ders qiladi.
So she's born and raised in Urumqi, East Turkestan, and she's a college graduate. And after her graduation, she became a teacher, Mandarin teacher in elementary school. She worked in her position as an elementary school teacher for about 25 years. And she was passionate about her teaching, and she loved children. But things started to be really different when it comes to 2009, and the Chinese government has a lot of complicated procedures to elect teachers, teacher assessment, and so on and so forth. They mandated, I know this is my information, they required Uyghur teachers to teach the children Han Chinese. And then when it comes to 2017, in March, she says she was sent to a place which is called Sanfango. It's like a place name in Urumqi, in a they said that you're going to go to school, you're going to educate illiterate people in here. You're going to teach them how to read and write. Rahmat Qelbinur ada. We cannot hear you.
She's a teacher, and she's now been asked from the local authorities to now stop teaching children and teach illiterates. So tell us, if she can guide us through her first day as she entered the facility, and what did she experience there?
Qelbinur ada, ikkinchi savolimiz bo'lsa, siz shu lagerga o'qituvchi bo'lib kirgandan keyin tunji kuni siz nimalarni ko'rdingiz, qanday his qildingiz, shularni bir so'zlab bergan bo'lsangiz. Aniki mening taklifim sal chiroqga qissangiz bo'pti ekan, menga yaxshi kelmayapti.
Ben 2017 günü Mağrip İdaresi bilen Anfango'daki kampüsüge yani atalmış savaştan terbiyeleş aşağıdaki mektebiga ders verdim. Bu dersga biz Tanfango bekatdan o'qirlari aşağıya olib bordi. Tog'ni ustida qurilgan bir yerga bu. Shu yerga borgandan keyin tunji ko'rganim biz shu saqchi mashinasidan tushib qarasam, bu qori joy tomni ustlari simlar bilan o'rnatilgan. Andan keyin taqaq kavishiga saqchi shofiri shu o'ziniki kartalari bilan elektron oshqozon bilan ichish orqali qo'rg'on kirdik. Bu qo'rg'on kirsa saqchilar, harbiylar bu yerda qurolli qo'g'da tutib, ya'ni. Andan keyin biz yo'ldan o'tib yana binoniki shu ichi binoning eshiklari qashqaq qattiq qo'rshalgan ekan. Andan keyin biz binoga kirsak, uni ko'rganim meni kirganda to'rt o'ng tarafda simliq shundoq o'rayotgan o'ng tarafdagi koridor. Uni oldida taxt o'tiribdi, o'rindiqni qo'yib. Andan keyin saqlab tunishtirdi meni bu yerga darsga kelgan o'qituvchilar. Ben u yerga ularning jadvaliga ism, familiya, kimlik nomeri, andan keyin telefon nomerimni u yerga yozdi ekan, men uni yozdim. Yozgandan keyin bu saqchi shofir meni bir ishxonaga boshlab kirdi. Bu ishxonada o'sha lakomdan yordamga kelgan qizlar ekan, Uyg'ur qizlar ishlaydi ekan. Bu yerda 10 qiz 20 soatdan bular olmish ishlaydi ekanda. Shundan men bu yerga kirgan qizlar dedi, "Qanday ma'lum biz darsni boshlasak bo'ladimi? Biz sizni nimaga akraydi sinfga deb." Bo'ladi deb degandek o'ng tarafdagi yoshlar
Bir şey için bir tercüme qilib olaymi? Rahmat. She's gonna continue, but I'm gonna translate it right now. So, Qelbinurada kirgan vaqti 2017-yil qanchinchi ayning qanchinchi kuni? 3-chi ayning 1-chi kuni. So she has to report the school, the so-called education center, on 2017 March 1st. And the location is called Sanfango again. And then she went there under the name of teaching the illiterate Uyghurs Mandarin Chinese. When they took her in a police car, and when she went down from the car, she saw that the walls are so high and that they are wired and guarded by police. When they entered the courtyard of the facility, they saw that army men and police cars, full weapon, armed, and they are guarding this facility. And they even when they opened the big gate after they went down the car, they opened it like with electronic card, swiping the card, like very strict. Tight screening process, and then they went inside, and she saw all those things, the armed weaponry soldiers inside the courtyard, and she was admitted into the building again with swiping the electronic cards. And then when she entered the building, on her right side, she saw a long corridor, and also the corridor was blocked with wires, with metal wires. And then she saw that, and she was required to fill out a form, and she has to write down her first, last names, and all the informations. And then 10 Uyghur girls, 10 girls are from the community office. They were working in there, and they rotate usually to work in there. She saw these girls in there. Now we can make her continue. Qelbinur'da davamlaştırsınız. Buldu.
Biz ana dedim o kızlarga. Ular bizde bu tutqunlarni endi ular sho'yan deb ataydi. Bu o'rganguvchilarni biz sinflarga deb. Men shu ishni oldim, bular chiqdi. Har bir kameralarni ichib, bu o'ng tarafdagi so'langan shu koridor tarafda 10 kamera bor ekanda, 10 kameraning har birida 10 odam bor ekan dastlabda. Ular chiqishga boshlagan kamerani udul sinf bor ekan, atamni sinf. Ularniki pichanlangan, shular oldirmay, shu sinfga qarab moldi. Bular kirib olgan ekan, meni chaqirdi. Tayyor bo'ldi sinfda deb. Ondan keyin men kirdim. Sinfga kirgich qarsam, bu fotografi birinchi kameraga men ko'z yugurtib qoldim-da. Bu kameraninki qorong'u. Ya'ni derizlarni mana qaraydi qo'yatlayotgan-ekan. Yer smot, bir tal nefis quruq kona adiyal. Andan keyin men smot yotadi ekan dedim. Shundan keyin men atamni sinfga kirdim. Kirsam, bu sinfning ichida kichik o'rin qo'yilgan yo'q. Rasmiy o'qiydigan bir sinf emaskan u. Bir kichik o'rindiqlar o'tirgan, faoliyat qilgan o'tirgan kichik o'rindiqlarga shuningda 100 degan tutqunlar bordi sinfning ichida. Keyinda yana saqchi harbiylar qurolliq turgan, oldida 5 shu Uyg'ur qiz, yordam kelgan qizlar, ular yana bor. Ana degan o'qituvchining oldida faqat bir usta, bir o'rindiq, ana keyin bir harakatlantirgich doska. Ular mana tutib kelganlar dastlab soqollari üskü qo'yishga men bularni qarasangiz men diniy zotlarga ulamolar ekan. Buni men dastlab kirgan vaqtimda ularga assalomu alaykum deb salom berdim. Chunki menga hech kim qanday salom qilishni bilmagan bo'lg'achqa. Shundan bular ishni ko'tarmay kusurishib ketdi. Qizlar kusurishib ketganda men xato salom qilishim deb darhol o'zimni o'ngshaplam. Bugunni boshlab men sizlarga shu davlat tilida men Qelbinur, men 24 boshlang'ich maktabga keldim dedim. Darsni boshladim. Ya'ni tildagi bu Xitoy tilida bizning qancha taqdimu qancha shamular bor deb shuni boshlab yozyapsam, keynimda ularniki yig'layotgan shundan bir tortishlari, yig'lashlari ashula anglab turdim. Men keynim qarab jur'at qilolmadim qat'iyan. Chunki men shunchalik qo'rqinish menda anoniki men bu zot qandoq yerda nima uchun yig'inashganda mana buni savodsizlarni tarbiyalan o'rin deganda amaliyoti bilan savodsizlar emas, butun diniy zotlarga bu qo'rqilganlarga agar bular bu yerda o'rgatilgan uchun tutqunlarda kishan qorong'u bundoq zayyarlar yotib ko'nglim shunchalik yerim do'stga xat yozyapman. Amaliyot butun eskadim ashunda qoldida. Menda intoyin qo'rqinish bir vahima bor edi. Shuni men keynim aytolmadim, chunki keynimda ular ko'z ish qilyapti. Men yana shunday bo'lsin darsdan o'tish jarayonida ularga ko'z yugurtgan bo'ldim. Hammasiniki bu chach soqollaridan yoshlari to'kilib turibdi. Men amal va bu jarayonda keynimga qaramaslikka tirishdim. Mushaq qilib, men birinchi kun butun burungi to'satni yani intayin qo'rqinish, vahima ichida o'tdi, tamom qildim. Bu 4 soat darsi, ya'ni 28 yillik o'qituvchilik hayotimdagi eng uzun so'zlagan, eng vahimali bo'lgan, eng qo'rqinchli bo'lgan bir 4 soatlik dars bo'ldi deb o'ylayman.
Rahmat. Siz abayda deganda sinfga 100 odam bor, shunami? Siz sinfga kirgan vaqtida bo'ldi, men shuni jazmlashtirib olay. They called she was in there inside the building, and that they heard that they called those people, Uyghur people, Shuyuan kind of student. They called them like not exactly students, like, but overall he can understand as like a student. And they called out 10 people from the right side, from the cells on the right side of the corridor. And all these people are handcuffed and their feet were shackled. and they brought them into the classroom. Also, they told Miss Qelbinur to Sister Qelbinur to come in. When she entered the classroom, she was before she entered the classroom. Of course, she had to go through the hallway, and then she looked at the cells. She looked inside the cells without making them realize. And she saw that the windows are blocked with iron fences, iron bars, and it means no one can escape. And then the floor, there was a very old blanket on the concrete floor, on the cement floor, and she felt like, oh, uh, they must be sleeping in here during the night. And this kind of thoughts came into her brain. When she came into the room that they told her to teach in there, she realized it doesn't really look like a classroom, because the regular classroom has a table and a chair. But this, in this classroom, she saw approximately 100 Uyghur people in there, and they are sitting on very low, like little benches, very small. Can I, maybe I didn't translate exactly that small small bench, little bench, very low. So they were sitting on it, and then there's no table for them. And then they gave her a mobile whiteboard, and a table and a chair to sit. And she saw that they don't look like the students that she imagined. Actually, these people have beards on that day. And then uh, so she feel like, oh, they must be religious personnel, so religious scholars. That thought came into her brain at that time. And then the five girls she talked about earlier, there are approximately 10 Uyghur girls who are from the community office. Yesterday I told you they call it shechi, uh, to help out in this facility. So the five of them came along with Sister Qelbinur into the classroom, and they were present at that time too. So so they said that this is your room and that this is your students, and here you have to teach them Mandarin Chinese. So she would like to greet her students now. So she said, because they have beards and they look like not government officials, of course. So she felt that they are religious personnels. So she would like to say, she said assalamu alaikum to greet them, because she never realized this is such a special because she didn't know before she came in, this is such a special facility. This is totally unexpected for her. Just regular salam she gave it, and she gave the salam to them. But the five girls started to murmur, because they didn't expect the Sister Qelbinur to say assalamu alaikum there. They know that it's gonna put her into some risk. So she turned back and she started to teach them the Chinese alphabets and how to sound them out. And she was trying to teach them. But while she's writing something on the board, on her whiteboard, she heard that those men behind her, those students in her classroom, are crying, and their voice, like she's hearing it. She says she's on that March 1st, when she was admitted into that facility as a teacher, that 4 hours is the hardest, longest, and most scary and painful teaching in her entire 28 years of teaching life.
Subhanallah. I want to ask about those students. From what I've read of her previous interviews and what she said today, and this is what is getting to my heart, because many of us have seen pictures in the past of, and which have enraged us, that imams and scholars, respected scholars of Islam in from that region, were made to dance on the streets, like humiliate. This is something that, can you imagine making rabbis dance on the street, or getting priests together? They have a honor. Religious scholars have an honor everywhere around the world. Did she ever confirm that these men, elderly men with beards, were religious scholars, the imams of that region.
Aha. Hana'nın sizge bolgan bu sualy. Hana burun körüp dikende ılıqı medialarda aşkar bolgan ılıqı şu imamlarımızdı koçuğa çıkıp ılıq uslu oynatıp turgan aşta resimlerini közümüz kögen burun. Bu amdi şu siz şu günü ders ötken vaqtida kögenmiş sakalları ütüp ketkenmiş adamlarni sizde bu dini bir zatlarga dep oýuldunuz. Deydi sizin muşaq bir aştanın hakikaten bir imam yoki mescitlerde imamlık kılıngan yoki muşaq dini erbab ekenligini siz ulardan birinde sorap bildigan yoki başkalardan sorap bildigan bu hakikaten imamlardı, dini zatlardı dep muşaq bir jazmlaştırışga bir fursat boldumu sizge? Şu doğruluk söz.
To'g'ri. Mayliqi kirgan vaqtida shu koridorniki ikki tarafida qora doska bor ekan shu koridorniki. Shu doskada shu qo'shtirlar desakda, ya'ni asabiy diniy kuchlarga qarshi turaylik, dinning suqunib kirishini oldini olaylik deb shunday xat bor ekan. Men unga qarab qolgan ishda. Men bu yerga dars berdim, chunki men bu erlar 6 oy turdim. 6 oy aşağı muqim to'g'ri bo'lg'achqa u yerdagi men aholilar komiteti yordam bergan qizlarni dedim 10 qiz olib keldim. U qizlarni birisi meni taniydi ekan, Mahira degan bir qiz. Chunki u qiz bizning maktabning atrofidagi aholilar komiteti ishlaydi ekan. U qizning bolasi bizning maktabda o'quvchi ekanda, bizning maktabda. Shuni bilan u qizlarni ko'p aralashdim men. Chunki
Sizlarning maktab deganingiz siz dars o'tayotgan lager maktabmi yo burunqi dars o'tganmi?
burunqi maktabimdagi aholilar komiteti ishlaydigan qiz bu qiz. Shuni bilan aşkız qor bu hozir dars o'qigan erlar kamsidagi qoroda kamera yo'q bo'lg'achqa ko'rshatyapti. Men to'la qizni so'raydim endi. Chunki u yerlarga kuniga 3 vaqt shu Xitoy momisi, bir taldan Xitoy momisi, bir qachidan quruq shogir suyi tabiatan bo'lg'achqa men to'la qizlar yordamlashibdilar shu Xitoy momisini ko'tarib taqtishib qipirish jarayonidami ularga yaqin munosabati bo'ldi mana shu qiz bilan. Men to'la so'raydim. Men bir şeyke bir hafta bo'lgandilar, Mayra degan qizdan so'radim. Bular hammasi cho'qim diniy zotlarga deyman, bular ulama odamlar menimcha. Desam men shu bular qaysi michitlardan mishaga davlat tili o'rgatishga kelganlar. Chunki bular masjidlarda bunaqa diniy burmalar asabiy dinni tarqatgan bo'lg'achqa bularni mishaga shu nimada davlat tili tarbiyasiga ash qizni uchiqdi. Andan keyin yana bu yerda mas'ul Gundupay başladı koymuşlar da şu akımızdan bu akımızın ismini ben bir yerde gibi yok lakin şu akımızdan bu paraklaştırmalar korudum için sözü şarkılık ben dedim bular nimgo gelgenler bular nimguna iti bular içtecin namazını olmay hatta teşvik kılgan boğaçka degan değil mi? Bu yani imamlar hemiz hatta teşvik kılma desem bu hazırki bizge şu vergen muşu emdi bulan çokum devlet tilde bilişke bular şu Cumhur'un puhrası her qanday odam cho'qim bo'lish kerak degan nima bo'lg'achqa o'jal shuni bo'lg'achqa bular davlatni tarbiyalaydigan ekan dedi mush ijodim bularimiz mechitlarning imomlari ekan nizomlarga uni jarayonda odatda otamiz sinfda paranglashsa gap so'rashga bo'lmaydi shundoq bo'lsinmi aşağıdaki bir odam men nima dedichu men chiqib bag'acha bir kuni tushdan keyin dars tugagandan keyin men sinfdan chiqib olsam muallim xafamaymi shu smot zavod shu mechitniki ichida mening uyim shu yerda mening 5 bolam bor shularga mening o'sha o'tib deb qo'ysangiz bo'pti dedi bu odam deganda men o'zim shunda cho'chib ketdim chunki tutib kelingan odamlarni oilasiga uqmaydi ularning nima deganini o'likmi tirikmi bilmaydi degan bularmi shu bir amal qilib o'zining shu hayotligini bildirishni o'ylaydi ammo tuqqanlari masalan ayoli bolalari surishti qilib saqchiqanliga borsa sen surishti qilib so'rama agar yana so'rasang sen shu yerga kirib yotsa deb surishti qilib qo'ymaydi qat'iy intayin maxfiy bularni bu yerga kelishi hech kim uqmaydi hattoki ularning ismini bilmaymiz biz chunki ularning nomer besalib kelgan xuddi jinoyatchilardek ularninki kiyimlari kulrang erlarni shan ko'lab qo'ymiz chekilgan ustiga juzrang deymiz endi absini rangli jilitki bor jilitni usti nomer besalib qarang biz shu nomer chaqirish orqali ulardan darsdan so'rab o'tgan bo'lg'achqa ismini so'rashga bo'lmaydi Şonda men şu smosat tıkaşdam degende bu adam smosat tıkaş miçna imam okşaydı ya bir ülema okşaydı dep oylap kaqamay çıkettim men. Çıkettim lekin neç gündeki o adam yo'qolib ketdi. U adamni bir aketdimi, yo'tkab aketdimi bilmadim. Men belki qat qilgan narsalarga mushu musha gapni so'rab qoldi menga deb bilib qolgandim, musha adam yo'qolib ketdi. Undan keyinmi yana aş ders o'tish jarayonida bizga 3 qism kitob berganda yangi tuzgan kitobga u qo'sh til darsiga deb 3 qism kitob bergan. Bizga deganda bu shu 6 oy jarayonida sizlar shu 3 qism kitobni tugatsizlar, tugatgandan keyin endi imtihon elib, imtihon qog'ozini topshirsizlar degan boshqa gapni qilmadilar bizga. Shundan men ular tunishtirgandim boshladim. Yana aş arliqda yana bir bola, u bola endi bir shu masjidda namoz o'qib yurgan bolamiki, o'qimadim men chunki ularni so'rashga bo'lmaydi. Aşı balını bir qatım malım. 3 ay bo'lgan vaqtimiki darsni men bir takror qilayli degan oldingi soat darsini desam, aşı bala malım darsni chaqaraq o'tgan bo'lsangiz o'tgan, kitob tezroq tugsa, bizmi chaqaraq chiqib ketgan bo'lsak uyimizga deb qoldi qaram. Degandim men mojab mushu bal musha gapni dedim shunda u balni keyin yo'qolib ketdi. Chunki u darsxonda atalmış o darsxonda Uyghur tilida men o'zimiz ona tilida so'zlashga, gap so'rashga qat'iy ruxsat yo'q, yo'q degan qat'iy. Shuning uchun men shundoq ansirab ketdim. Lekin ash qizlarni men keyin so'radim. Mushundaq bir shikisi yo'qolib ketdi bo'lar desam, yo bular olmishib yutkilib turdi dedi. Anqchimush 6 oy jarayonida qarab 3-chi oyning biri men shu darsga borgan bo'lsam, 3-chi oyning 20sidan boshlab 4-chi oyning 1gacha bo'lgan 10 kunda bu yerga shuncha ko'p odam kelib ketdi. Optuz ekivetdi qarag'aniki. 4 qavat bino dedim men sizga. Boshda birinchi qavat 10 qo'l tarafda koridorlar 10 kamera bordi. Her birida 10dan odam bo'lsa 100 odam o'qiydi ataldi sinfda. 3-chi oyning 20sidan 4-chi oyning 1gacha bo'lgan oralikda bu yerga 7-8 minglab bolalarni ekvetdi. U keyin tutib kelgan bolalar qanday bolalar kelsangiz, cho'nglar bek oz. Bular butun chet elda o'qib, bilim oshirib, masalan, shu Yaponiya, Koreya, Misr, hatto Misrda Saudiyada o'qiganlar chiqargan. Amerika, Qirg'iziston, Yevropada o'qib, ota-onalar kambag'allar desa, biz o'qig'ili kelgan bo'lsak deb vatan qaytib borganda bularni ota-onalarim ko'rishmaylar. Ular kampga tutib kelganlar ekan. Undan sirt yana millionerlar deymiz, masalan, korxonchilar, san'atkorlar, yozuvchi, shoirlar, hammasi uniki tutib kelganlar, hammasi bilimli odamlar, boylar, restoran ochgan, shirkat ochgan tutib kelib, shuning bilan bu keyingi 3-chi oyning 24-chi oyning 1idan keyin bu yerda tutqunlar ko'payib 7-8 minglab ketdi bular. Havas.
She verified that her students are religious scholars, imams, and some other kinds of religious personnel in various means. The first way she tried is we have talked about earlier that there are several girls who are from the local community office, the Uyghur girls. One girl's name is Mahira. So she asked from this girl that so are they imams, and they look like religious people to me. And she says she confirmed this, the Mahira, the girl, she confirmed this. They are indeed religious scholars. And also, and she saw that while she was teaching, and on the hallway there are blackboards on the walls, on the hallways, and there are written Chinese sentences like we are let's fight with the radical religious forces and powers, and let's stand against the radical religious faces seep into our lives. That such slogans that she has seen on the walls. And another way, another from the wall, and she confirmed it with Mahira, and she's seeing that every single day. And her students are given this, we call it like moma. It's like steamed bread. Steamed bread is round and small. It's like Chinese people's bread, and we bake it in the tandoor. And also they are given with steamed bread along with rice soup, very thin rice soup, nothing else. This is their food. And while she's helping out those community office girls to help out handing out the foods to the students, and that's when she had the opportunity to talk to those girls, because they are watched all the time, and they rarely she could find any chances to talk to the girls, community office girls, to verify whether her students are really religious personnel. So this is the first way that she verified. And another one, she says, there was a um, Qelbinur'da ikkinchi yo'l orqali so'raganda siz bir akimizdan so'rdim dedingiz. U akimiz Uyg'ur, shundaqmi?
Uyghur saqchi başkanı.
So another way that she verified that they are indeed the religious scholars is there is a policeman, Uyghur policeman, the police guard in the facility. So she had the opportunity to talk to him, and she says, "You see, I have 100 students here. All of them did they educate the people in the masjid with wrong religious ideology? Did they all commit such crimes?" And they say, a police guard, the Uyghur man replied her, "Every Chinese citizen, no matter you are imam or no matter you are elderly, you should be able to speak Mandarin Chinese. So that's why we brought them here to be literate in Chinese." This is the reply that she got. And also at the time that Uyghur men also verified that they are indeed the imams of masjid. This is the second, and the another way that she tried to verify that another way that gave her the confirmation about that they are indeed the religious scholars is that one one time she had the rare opportunity to talk to one of her students, and that guy came to her and said, "I'm the imam of concrete factory, the cement production factory in Urumqi. We have a local masjid in the cement factory. Also, my house is in there." So that man couldn't be able to tell her his name, that I'm the imam of that specific masjid in cement factory, and I have 5 children. When you are outside, please send a message to my family that I'm alive and that I'm staying in here. So this is indeed another kind of verification that she learns that they are indeed imams. They are indeed people in the local community to call people to pray and educate them with the Islamic religious faith. Um, hmm. So, uh, so there is she saw that they are all wearing gray colored uniforms on top of them. And then on top of gray colored uniforms, they are wearing sleeveless orange color jacket. I think we saw it on the release pictures too. And then they have a number attached at the number card attached on top of their sleeveless orange color jacket and also on their gray color uniform. So she has never gotten any chance to learn anybody's name among these 100 students. So
Their identity, their identities have been totally wiped out. They're just down to
number, there are certain number 90, number 40, something like that. But unfortunately, one thing that made her really sad is after she talked with the imam, just several days later, this imam of that cement factory was disappeared. She was given 3 books in the Mandarin teaching textbooks to teach these 100 students within 6 months period. So after this period is over, after she completes all these 3 textbooks, she has to test her students and submit the examination papers, and then her job is in there would be completed. So one time, one of her very young student, and this boy came to him them and said, Miss Qelbinur, yeah, let's just finish this 3 books as fast as we can, so that I can return to my home faster. So this also, this young boys, these words made Miss Qelbinur really, really sad. Um,
What while you're
yeah,
looking at your notes.
I'm continuing her story. So, so, um, so she says, while she was teaching in there on March 20 until April 1st, within this 10 days, thousands of people came. Qalnuradan necha ming odamni akbatdi dedingiz, 3 ayning 20-sidan tortib. Thousands of people came, like they flooded the Uyghur people into those cells. She says that every cell there should be 10 people living inside. Every cell there are 10 people. But and in a, yeah, so her bir kamerda her bir kamerda 10 odam bor. Shundaymi? Ular necha minglagan odamlarni siz boshida 100 o'quvchim bor dedingiz. Andan keyin 3-chi ayning 20-sidan tortib barcha qadam kelib ketdi, shundaqmi?
Kamerga yana 30'dan 40'dan 50 adamı tıkıverdi.
And enough bo'ldi. And enough bo'ldi. Men mushuni bir deb beray. So when she came first on March 1st, yeah, she saw that she had 100 students, and in each cell there are 10 people staying in that cell, right? But when it comes to March 20th, thousands of Uyghur people, Uyghur inmates joined this facility. So they flooded Uyghur people in. So the situation has changed. So every cell, there should be like 30 people, 40 people, and even more than that. So all of these people, she said they are the students who are returned from Egypt or Saudi Arabia from the religious kind of, because we were usually when they go to Egypt, like they go to Azhar, like learn the religion in a more systematic way, such kind of students. And she said that some artists, very renowned people, some Uyghur scholars, some writers, like poets, that kind of people, and also very renowned, rich millionaire kind of people who opened the restaurant and who is a renowned entrepreneurs. And she saw such people are flooded into that detention facility, and then the every cells become more crowded, just way more crowded before. So, and then one thing that I would like to add here is, remember that she talked about the young boy who came over to her, Miss Qelbinur, can you finish the book faster? If we finish it, we can go back. And that young boy also disappeared several days after she had a talk with him, and she was worrying about this young boy's safety, and she asked again from the community office that girl, and they said that Qelbinur had a Miss Qelbinur, they always rotate these inmates. They don't stay in one location very long, and they are transferred to other location. This is the answer that she got from that community office girls.
So this means when they say, oh, they pass through these camps, you don't know whether they have been gone to prisons or even tougher camps, or they've died. No one knows what happens to them once they leave a facility.
Yes.
My after her experience at the men's camp, she was transferred involuntarily to teach at a women's facility. So from what I've read, the women's facility, and if she can confirm with us that she approximates that about 10,000 young women were in this facility, and many of them were educated. Um, ret- Many of them were educated in foreign countries, so they were, you know, the elite of the young women in the region. So, could she tell us more about her students there, what they were like, and then really, I feel so horrible to have her relive this. But if she could explain to us the treatment of Uyghur women in these camps.
Qelbinur'da bu qitim Hena'nın so'raydig'ini bo'lsa, Hena burun siz bergan ziyoratlardan siz degan gap so'zlar bor. Xabarlarni o'qish orqali o'qib ekan, sizdan keyin yana shu erlar bor lagerdan ayollar lageriga yetkib o'tib ekan. Va shu yerda Hena'nın deyishicha shu taxminan 10 mingdek ayollar bor deb deb ekansiz. Ana bu ayollarning ko'pincha qismi intayin yaxshi tarbiya ko'rgan yoki chet ellarda o'qish bitirib kelgan shunday ayollar deb shunday bir ma'lumot berib ekansiz. Unda bo'lsa siz aşağıda ayollar lagerida nimalarni ko'rdingiz, nimalarni his qildingiz, shu to'g'ri so'zlab bersangiz.
Buldum. Ben u yerga 9. ayning biri yangi o'qish mavsumida bordim u yerga.
2000 qanchinchi yili?
2017da 9. ay
9-oyda.
u yerda qiz ayollar kampusida Togon degan bekatda. Togonninki yo'lni qarshilab bo'ldilar. Aşağıdaki ben u yerga dastlabki borgan vaqtimda bu yerda 19 yosh 20 yosh kirgan bir Uyg'ur qizninki jasadiga shohid bo'ldim. Ya'ni ben bu yerga darsga kitob materialini ko'tarib darsga soqchilar boshlab bordim. Meni birinchi qavatida bor ekan, birinchi sinf. Shu yerga kirib koridorda ikki harbiy zambilda bir qizni mengibdi-da. U qizning ustida oq qimda bir nima yipirilgan to'p. Ben shu koridorga kirdim birinchi qavatniki. Birinchi kameradalar bunday qilib temir ishninki uchiq yerda men bilan yaxshi turgan bir yaqin soqchi do'stim bir Xitoy xizmatchi bilan so'roq xotirasi yozib ekanda bu yerda bu ishlar udulli keldi bizga. Men koridorning shirini ochdi, soqchilar men kirdim. U soqchi do'stim bana qaradi, sen bu yerga dars keldingmi dedi, dedim. Sen xizmat keldingmi dedim, u dedi, biz tushdik koridorda nimada qo'rida ko'rishaylik, shu yerda paranglashaylik deb. Ben menişim bilan ikki harbiy zambilda bir 19-20 yosh atrofida bir qizni olib chiqib turibdi ekanda. Shuni ko'rib qoldim. Men qarasam o qizning chiroyida qon yo'q atdilam. Men darhol soqchi do'stim qaradim, u men qaradi. Shundan keyin biz hech qanday gaplasholmaydi vaqtlardan sinib kirib ketdim, dars o'tib chiqib 4 soat darsdan keyin tushdim. Men o do'stim bilan qo'rida ko'rishdim. Ko'rishib biz akvalashgandan keyin men undan so'radim darhol. Atigan biz uchirgan qiz qanday bo'ldi xabar topdingmi desam, u qizaloq qansirab ketibdi-ku. Doktorxonaga yetkazish jarayonida tugab ketibdi, o'ylab qolibdi dedi. Qanday qilib qansirab ketgan o qizaloq desam, chunki bu yerdagi qiz ayollarga u soqchi do'stim bilan bek yaqin o'tgan bo'lg'achqa, u ham bu yerda menga bek ishindi-da. Ikkimizning orasida qolsin gap dedi. Men voy xotirjam bo'ldim desam, bu qiz ayollar kampusida ishlar bek ko'p bo'lg'achqa bizni shu soqchixonada mishayga er xizmatchim bilan birga bizda so'roq xotirasi ivatdi, bu yerda ishlar og'ir kelganda qanday og'ir bu yerda ishlar desam, bu yerda qiz ayollarga shu erlar kampusiga o'xshash bularga mana o'qul urdi ekan. U o'qullar masalan bularning odat to'xtatadigan o'qul ekanda. Odat to'xtatish o'qul urdi ekan, dori berdi ekan bularga. Ana keyin bularning qonaldi ekan, har dushanba kuni qildi ekan bu ishni. Ana keyin shu o'qul dorilarni urush yeyish jarayonida ash qiz bir yarim oy odat to'xtamabdi-da ash qizniki. Bir yarim oygacha odat to'xtamay shu qiz qansirab oxiri o'lgan vaqtida apmangan gap uni. Mushu darajada. Undan sirt yana men soqchi do'stimdan oldim. Men dedim, qiz ayollar kamplarida işte er soqchilar so'roqlar jarayonida bosqinchiliklar ishlar bo'ladi. Mushni xabar topdingmi? Sen bilamsan, mushni men deb bersan desam, biz naq soqchixondan bizga mush ishni tekshirishga evatdi bu yerga. Biz mushlarni so'roq xotirasi olyapmiz. Chunki bu yer butunlay Xitoy er soqchi ishlaydigan bo'lg'achqa, u er soqchilar mushunda qiz ayollar lagerlarda ishlashni yaxshi ko'rganda, so'roq jarayonida shu qizlarni navbatlash bosqinchilik qildi ekan bular. Bosqinchilik qilib bo'lgandan keyin ularning qo'lida yana to'qliq to'qmoqlar bilan ularning maqat yo'llariga, jinsiy yo'llariga mana tiqib qiynab ularni mushunda azoblaydi ekan, dafsanda qildi ekan bularni. Shunlar bu ishlar intay ajab ketgan bo'lg'achqa, soqchilar bularga atalmish xizmat tekshirishga evatibdi-da. Evatib shuni biz qizlardan, ayollardan so'rayapmiz, mush ishlar bormi deb deganda, men dedim, men shunda hayron qoldim. Sizlar nima uchun soqchi soqchilarniki so'roqxonalarda bularni so'ramay, nima uchun kameraning ichida so'raysizlar? Kameraning ichida koridorda ham yerda kuzatish apparatlari bor tursa, kamera bor tursa desam, xizmat naq mushu shaklga bo'layotgan ishlar bularmisi chunki bizga tushagan vazifa mushu deb man dedim mandiki qiz ayollar nima deb javob berdi ular sizlarga qo'shildimi desam ulardan so'ragandilar ular yig'lab ketdi ekanda shu ha biz bizni so'roq jarayonida qiynadi lekin bosqinchilik uchirdinglarmi desa yig'lab ketibdi u qizlar chunki uni deyolmaydida uni bosqinchilik uchirib tursa ular imzo qo'yish kerak ekan u yerga shunda bizni so'roq jarayonida qiynadi deb shunday yig'lab yiqib ketibdi undaq o'zi qo'l qo'yib deb osh tekshirishni qilib mushtaq qilib biz yuqoriga topshiramiz yuqoriga yollaymiz dedi man shunday hayron qoldim undan sirtmi yana bu yerdagi qiz ayollar intayin ko'p 7-8 ming 10 mingga yaqin chunki siz buni qanday bilasiz desangiz bu yer 6 qavat bino 6 qavat binoning har bir qavatida 20dan 25gacha kamera bor ekanda undan sirт har bir kamerada yana 30dan 40dan shunday qilib qiz ayollar yotadi ekan man sinflar koridor kirish chiqish jarayonida kameraning eshiklar ochilgan vaqtda man diqqat qildim endi bu qiz ayollarniki bu kamerada bir o'xshamaydigan yeri erlarning kamerasi o'xshamaydigan yeri bu qiz ayollarning kameralarida taxtay bor ekan yerda bular chunki simot yotmaydi ekanda bir 20-30 santimetr egizlikdagi taxtay yotadi ekan andan keyin odam ko'p bo'lgan bo'lg'achqa bular navbatlashib 3 soatdan navbatlashib orom oldi ekan andan keyin shu kameraning ichida tozliq VC deb qo'yamiz endi shu kamerada ichida bo'ldi ekan unda 3dan 6 kesak qo'yib qo'yibdi o'tirda chelak bor o'shada bular kunda navbatlashib tozalaydi ekan shuni andan keyin erlar kamsidimi erlar bir qatam munchilagan kirib boqmay butun badanlari pitlab ashta qo'yib ketdi bu qiz ayollar kamsidimi qiz ayollar faqat 15 kunda bir qatam bular o'pchi munchisi ekan 15 minut vaqti bor ekan andan keyin bularnimi yüz yuydigan bunday qiladigan vaqtlari 1 minutdan keyin 15 kunda bir qatam mana shu yuydiga chaqirib chiqadi ekanda ashula 15 minutdan andan keyin bu yerdagi qiz ayollarning hammasiniki chichi tushirib Şichi parkız pişiritilgan. Biz ders o'tgan vaqtimizda biz qafasning ichida turamiz. Qarshi tarafimiz tumir shaklning qarshi tarafida o qiz ayollar o'tirib yana kichik o'rinda o'tirib dars anglaydi. Bu har bir qavatdagi atalmish sinfningki ijtimoiy keng o'g'ashqa 200 dan 300 ga qadar ashuna bir cho'ng zalka bu. Siz 3-4 qo'rning kaynini ko'ramaysiz. Ashundaq kengri ekan. Andan keyin 3-4 qo'rning kaynini ko'ramaysiz degan g'uva sinfning ichi pek yo'riq emas. G'uva bo'g'ashqa kaynini ko'rilmaydi. Andan keyin bu qiz ayollarni o'xshash shu erlarningki o'sha kulrang ishon ko'rdingmi? Va ichkiga g'ashlar ishkim kiyib olgan. Bularga o'xshash ustiga shu obsidian rangida jilikning ustida nomer bo'g'ashqa bular har bir soatda chiqib kirgan vaqtda nomerlari ko'zini chiliqidi 6 ming 7 ming mancha 8 ming mancha 9 ming mancha nomergacha men shu bir soat tugagan keyin ikkinchi soat ikkinchi qavat chiqib ekanman 3 soat 3 qavat chiqib ekanman 6 qavatning har bir qavatiga sinflar ayrim ta'sis qilingan ekan shu sinfda turib men bularning kirayotgan chiqayotganlarini men qarab shu nomerlardan qarab mushlarning 7-8 ming hatta 10 mingga yaqin qiz ayollar sungan ekan dedim. Andan keyin eng ustungi qavatida 6-qavatda bu yerda jami %90% qizlar. Ya'ni bu qizlar degani 18 yoshdan 40 yoshgacha %90% egallaydi ekan. 40 yoshdan yuqori 70 yoshliklar 10% egallaydi ekan. 6-qavatga ular andan keyin u shu 6-qavatga 70 yoshliklarning sochlarini tushirilgan qarasangiz ya erdek emas ya ayoldek emas ashundoq bu yerda men mushundoq ishlarni ko'rdim lekin ahvol intayin bek ig'ir ham bek fojia bular mushundoq soqchilarniki soqchilarning har xil so'roq jarayonida bularni so'roq qildik qiyin qistoq oldik deb qiyin qistoq so'roq qilishdan sirt yana navbatlashib bosqinchilik qilib ularni shundoq har xil usulda qiynab hatto ba'zilari shu qonsirab shundoq o'lib ketsimi operativ o'ligini olib chiqdi ekan doktorxonaga yetkazish jarayonida o'lib ketdi tugab ketdi deydi ekan shundoq bek fojia qiz ayollar kamsida ishlar intayin og'ir haqiqatan odam qubul qilib bo'g'ilmaydigan darajada man hozirmi o'ylasammi shu bu kampadagilarni shu fojialarni o'ylasammi bularning shu azoblanayotgan qiynalayotgan shu ichinishlik voqirashlarni o'ylasammi hozir qadar man mana bu şey inib chiqilib 1,5 yil bo'libdi mana shu gollandiyaga inib chiqilib to bugun qadar mushu daqiqa qadar har bir o'ylasam Ben fakat unutup kalmayım. Ben özlemni şunchalik azaplık his qilman. Meningmi tava, hozir qadarmi bularni bir haqiqatdan unutup qalganim yo'q. Ashlarning menga beqiyotgan umidli ko'zlari, har bir darslarni so'rash jarayonidagi ashlarniki so'zlash orqali so'zning orasiga qistalgan shu o'zining fojia hikoyalarini men bir kunmi unutib qolganim yo'q. Intayin azoblandim. Haqiqatan pek ichinishli, pek fojiali ishlar.
Vaqtimiz 90% shu ayollarniki, qizlarniki yeshi 10 yoshdan tortib 18 yoshdan 40 yoshgacha deb 1%ni deb bitib ketdingiz. Qancha persent qizlar bek yosh, qancha persent sal yosh quramga yetgan ayollar shuni bir deb bering. Men xatirlayolmay qoldim.
Ben 18 yaşkışta %90% dedim. Asas cihetin aşağı yaş kızlar.
90% intayin yosh qiz vallahi shundaymi? O faqat 10% 30-40 yosh atrofi. Rahmat.
40 yaş hatta 70 yaşlar varken yukarılar. Ben onların yaşlarını kim ben sorsam, sorduğumda sorsam, ular nime kirip kalgansa aylıkı burun yıllarda bular üyelerden ders verdi o mesela din dersi dedi o mesela Allah'la balda ne kirperse şu belgelerken ular şuların şu zamanlar şu din dersi belgelerden ne kirip sorulaganlar ki ular
Din dersini berganda. Ben avval balani bir tercüme qilib yes, as you have stated, Sister Hannah, and she approximates the number just 7,000, 8,000, even up to 10,000 in the another facility that she taught Mandarin Chinese for her second job position in there. So she arrived into this women's detention camp in 2017 in September, and the location is called Tugong. Look, it's nearby Tugong bus station. Tugong is the Chinese name of a place in Urumqi. And then on her first name, she witnessed that the Han Chinese police officials there carrying a dead body of Uyghur young girls. There is no blood and a very pale complexion, and she just for a very several seconds period, she just stepped inside and she saw the scene. And she happened to have a very close friend, Uyghur police woman who works in this facility. So on the day that she arrived, they greeted each other briefly. Oh, you're here, and then Miss Qelbinur, you're here, and then Sister Qelbinur says, yes, yeah, salam. That kind of very short communication, and then they gestured and they talked to each other. That let's talk later in the day after we are done in the courtyard. So at the time when she entered, actually, the close friend of Sister Qelbinur was talking to another Chinese colleague, Chinese policeman, and they are they are establishing records for those inmates, for those young girls in there, making police records. So and later in the day, she got the chance to talk with her police women, Uyghur police women friend in the courtyard. And then she asked her friend, why did this young girl die today in this detention center? And then her friend says, it seems like so much blood came out of her, then she could not sustain anymore, and then she was dead. So and her friend also says there are so many things happening in here, and that very heavy situations are occurring, like very vague indication only. She didn't like reveal what's going on in there at that moment. And then later during her days while she was teaching in the camp, she saw that they gave them injection by the muscle, and then they gave them drug, and then they routinely draw blood from these Uyghur females. And yeah, okay, this is sorry if I made some confusion. So let's continue. Her conversation with her friend a little bit. Let's go back. So her friend says there are heavy situations going on in the camp, and so many things are going on. This girl died because she lost so much blood, and of course, and all these drugs they give them, and intended to stop their period. But on the contrary, this young girl's period starts to come, and then it never stops. And then she, at the result of all these injections, she lost blood, and then she died today. This is the explanation that she got from her friend. And also, it is true that she also witnessed, along with the statement of her friend who works as a policewoman in the camp, she also witnessed that they are given with secret kind of injections, drugs, and then their bloods were drawn on routinely basis. And her friend's story continues right now. So her friend says, I came here to this detention facility to investigate some weird situations, such as sexual abuse. Of course, Sister Kalner also just asked her about it because she was suspicious, because these are the women's cells. So when she asked her friend, and her friend answers, yes, I came here to especially investigate such situations because we are reported that such situations exist. And Ms. Kalner says, according to her friend, usually Chinese policemen, they like would like to come to work in this specific detention facility for women, because there are a lot of young girls here, and they like to come. They actively request from the authorities to send them to work in this facility. Uh, and she was told that so they policemen, the Han Chinese policemen, they do sexually abuse on these Uyghur girls who are locked up in these camps, and then they usually take turns. And in addition to this, and then they put electric bait on inside their private parts, and then they abuse into them to this degree. And her friend says, because we are reported that such situations exist, I came here to establish cases and solve the situation. But her friend also indicated that we are just doing it in a formality, because that they, instead of investigating from the population of the Han Chinese police group, they investigated it from these Uyghur girls. They called them into their office and then asked whether they sexually abused you. They asked such questions, and then girls start to cry, and they just say, yes, they tortured us. Yeah, even her friend that he just indicated several times that this is only the formality, because they are watched all the time by the camera. Even the girls are reporting that, yes, I was sexually abused by the Chinese police. They know that they are watched by the guards, and that they might not dare to say so. That's why her friends say that this is only the formality, but we are doing our job here. Um, and of course, when they call those girls in, we were females in to investigate about such problems, whether this kind of abuse exists, and they say yes. They have to fill out the form and sign on top of the paper for the document, for the police file. So they have to go through such procedures. And she indeed, so as I have talked earlier, that there's so many girls. The building is 6-story high. It has 6 floors, and then again, and they are wearing the same clothes with men as she has seen in the male detention facility center. They are wearing gray uniforms on top, and on top of that, they are wearing that sleeveless orange color jacket. And then on their jackets, of course, their numbers are printed and tagged, and those numbers saying 6,000, like 77,000, and so that's why this is the base. This is the foundation that she came to the idea. Oh, here more than 7,800 to approximately 10,000 Uyghur females are locked up in this detention facility. She says in every store there are approximately 20 to 25 cells in there. In every cells, approximately 10 to 25 girls or Uyghur females are living inside, and the room is tiny. And what is different with the men's detention facility is she saw that men are sleeping, as she has described earlier. On her first day, she saw that there's an old blanket on the floor, on the concrete, the cement floor. But this girls' detention facility, it has at least 20 centimeters to 30 centimeters high, um, wooden floor. They have wooden floor, but the room is so tiny, so they have to take rest or sleep on by rotating the time. So they cannot all go to sleep at the same time.
This is exactly what Mihirgul also
Yes.
experienced. So, just for the audience to know that Mihirgul Tursen is another camp survivor who was in a different facility, and but she also experienced the same and gave testimony to the same thing, that the cells were so cramped that the women have to take turns to rest or to sleep. Subhanallah. Yeah, continue, please.
Okay. So the floor, at least they have wooden floor, but they have to rotate and sleep in every 3 to 4 hours. And what she has seen in men's detention center, that they take shower they take shower. They don't take shower, and they don't have like the shower room in the men's detention facility center. But here, the Uyghur women are given chance to take a shower, but the time is very short, that they have to finish everything within 15 minutes. And on during the day, in the morning, they are given only 1 minute to finish washing their faces and everything. So this is a difference that she has seen. And also she saw that all these females are hairless. Their head is shaved altogether. She says that while she was teaching, and she was like teaching inside like cage like stuff, she has like she's behind the bar on the other side, and those Uyghur inmates are on the other side of the bar. So it means they cannot come close to her, or she can't come close to her. This is how they did the teaching environment. And she says the girls sit and they listen, and her students in one room is approximately 200, from 200 to 300, and then she can't be able to see like 3 or 4 rows, and in her vision only can accommodate 3 or 4 rows of her students, because there are so many, and the after the fifth row starts, and her vision becomes blurry, and she even cannot identify the faces of those Uyghur females, because the room is big, and there are so many students in one so-called classroom. So, she says, I almost finished her answer for this question, and she saw when she went upstairs to the sixth floor, and she saw um, he identified one thing, and that there are girls on the fifth, on the sixth, on the floor number 6. There are Uyghur females who are really young. 90% of them are very young age. Only 10% of them is like 30, 40 or above. And like Sister Gulbahar said, it's like up to 70 or 80 years old, that women. But she emphasized that the age of the girls here, 90% of them are very young, and they always interrogate these girls and pull out, and while she's teaching or she's present in the hallway, she hears the screaming.
I'm sorry, we lost Sirwi. Inshallah, she'll be back. And while we're addressing this, I just want to let people know that Qelbinur's husband has given her a divorce over the phone. This is something frequently I've heard from Uyghur women who were either students in Western countries who had come here to study and couldn't go back after the situation escalated in 2017, that many of them, I have borne witness to this myself, have collected their testimony, have heard them, that have said that they have been given a divorce over the phone, so the family members could protect themselves, while as they have been left behind and they still have to live in the region under the authorities. This is something, uh, what the extent of this, um, we've been told these are re-education camps. What are they re-educating them in? If they're teaching them Mandarin Chinese, um, this why the shackles? Why the rape? Why the torture? As you can see, Kalbinur is here, and hopefully we can have Sirwi back, inshallah. There she is. Go ahead, Sirwi. We just
Yes, almost the answer is over. So she always hear the screaming and the scary voices of these girls, and still those voices are echoing in her ears and giving her so much pain.
subhanallah. Um, I have, we were just talking earlier about, I just was sharing with the audience that her husband has given her a divorce and denounced her, and said that she was never a teacher. But obviously, for her to have such detailed experiences in the camps, and to know so much, language skills in Chinese. And Siri, you yourself used to teach Chinese in East Turkestan, right?
I have never taught Chinese, but I taught Chinese students
Oh, okay.
English as a second language. But I was all the time teaching Chinese students. I have never taught Uyghur students
Okay.
while I was living in East Turkestan.
Okay. Interesting. Um, I would like her to continue and share more about the experiences of the young women. I still want to understand, why were these young women detained? Did she learn about? Some of these, were they religious as well? For what reason were these young women brought into the camps, and for what? Uh, if she could share some of the stories that she saw on the ground of the young girls there, if she has anything of that to share.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a really good question. So I add up a little bit as the continuum of the answer of the second one. Just one point, this is related exactly to your question. She said that among the 10%, she emphasized that 90% of them are young and the 10% of them are adults or a little bit older, right? She said that especially the older group of Uyghur population in this detention facility, the Uyghur females, are the ones who taught religious teachings in the neighborhood. For example, I have a neighbor. Very loving neighbor. She wore hijab and she knew religion. She's the only one in our building that she does like wear hijab and a nose. So our neighbors send their children to such ladies usually to learn Arabic, to learn tajweed, so on and so forth. So she emphasized the 10% of this Uyghur population, the Uyghur females who are a little bit who are older. Like she said that it's even up to 70, the ones who taught in the neighborhood,
Mm.
our dean, the ones. So I can right now ask her about your question. And you said that you earlier mentioned about her husband, right?
Yes.
So, and then your question focused on why these girls are brought into those camps.
Yeah. While
Okay.
you were off screen, I just wanted to let the audience know.
Okay. Sure. Qalbinurada endi sizdan so'raydigan savol siz bizga bak qimmatli uchurlarni berdingiz. Mushu lagerning 6-chi qavatida siz ko'rganlar 90% yosh qiz bolalar. U yosh cho'ngroqlari ham bir diniy darslarni o'tib Şu mahallede aşağı qilganlarni aşağı ekirib oldu. Muşu yaş qizlarni şunda köp dediniz. Muş yaş qizlar neyni sebepten bir yerga akirilibdi? Siz şu to'g'riliq bir so'zlab bergan bo'lsangiz.
Bu yosh qizlarniki asos nima desangiz, bular sab chet elda o'qib kelganlar bularni. Ko'pinchisi chet elda o'qib kelganlar, undan keyin ba'zilarniki telefonlarda har xil aplikasiyalar ekan, har xil applar ekan. Bu vaqtlarda masalan shu Saudiyaning, Misrning azonlari bor, bundaq azon to'laydigan oyat. Başlar bir evcep ketken bir yıllardır bir-birisiga yo'llashib, başnaqlarni. Ana telefonunu juyasingizmi, telefondan mingisi saqlanib qoldi ekan-chu, o tekshirgan chiqib qoldi ekan. Shuni sen taqib sen buni, anadan keyin sen buni tushirib, telefonni saqlab ekansan, keyin juyib ekansan, deb shu taqatgan guruhdagilarning o'ni ko'rganmiz, o'nning hammini. Anadan keyin shu u demisizlar qonunsiz shu video ko'rib, taqatgan deb anadan keyin nurg'unlardagi har xil qonunsiz aplikasiyalarni tushagan deb. Anadan keyin Bularga asosan ularning hech qanday bir jinoyat, hech qanday gunohi yo'q. Hammasiniki ma'lumotlar o'qiganlar. Ko'pinchisi chet elda o'qib kelgan gunohiga. Misrda o'qib kelgan. Andan keyin yana bularning bir qismi qanday kelsa Turkiyada turib, Turkiyadan chiqishdan modib ketdi, shunda o'tib ketdi xabaringiz. %80%, 90% Turkiyaga berib keldigan sayohatga. Nurg'unlagan qiz ayollar Turkiyaning ash kiyimlarini, masalan, qanday hijab kiyim, ko'ylak, Turkiyaning har xil hamma narsani, hatto jabduqlar bor, ziynat. Ba'zi puli borlari do'kon ichib, sotadi. Do'kon yo'qlar o'zining uyida sotadi kiyim-kechaklarni. Masalan, bizlar uylarda ko'rib, tanlab sotdik. Ashlab Turkiyaning mollarini sotgan, Turkiyaga sayohatga borgan. Masalan, ular biz biror sayohat shirkatiga borgan deb shu aniq isbotlab bergan bo'lsinmi, sen Turkiyaga beribsan degan bano bilan kirib ketgan. Andan keyin do'konni o'sha turk mollarini sotgan, ham do'konni kuchatlab, ham jarimani qo'yib, ham ayol kirib olgan. Bular shunday. Endi Misr turib kelganlar ekan, Misrda, Saudiyada, undan sirt yana haramga hajga borganlar ekan. Mesela özü şəxsi hərəmgə həcb ağalarını 10 yıldan yuqarı 18 yıl kesildi ekan ularni. Gruplardan bağlan isbatı bağlarını 8 yıldan 10 yıl aşında hər xil keladigan iş qilib, hərəmgə bağlanlı bolsa, yağlıq çəkkenli bolsanız, uyingizdan Qur'on Karim chiqqan bolsa və yoki biror janamaz chiqqan bolsa, ishqilba shu Qur'onga doir mesela hadis kitoblar deymiz, kitoblar chiqqan bolsalar, akirib aşağı kirib solib olgan. Nurg'unlardan kelib bolalardan so'raydi qaranglar. Masalan, maktabda qolgan vaqtimizda o'quvchilardan kirib so'raydi. Shu Xitoy erkadırlar, tekshiruvchilar. Biror tarjimonni avlib bizga ishonmaydi. Akirib, sinfimiz chiqtatdiq, darsda qolgan bo'lsa, bolalardan so'raydi. Sening isming nima deb chiroyli qilib, sening ota-onang uyda sen qanday qaraysan, opamlarni yaxshi ko'ramsan, masalan, opam yaxshi ko'rmadisa, yaxshi shu opamizni yaxshi ko'ramiz. Anda sening opang namoz o'qishni bilamdi, yog'liq chegamdi. Yoki dadang seniki mechitlar borganmi, masjidga. Juma kunlari mechit qamdi, sening akramdi degan bo'lsa, bu bolalar yog'inda qilmay. Buni cho'qim rostga qilib, cho'qim rost gapirishim kerak deb, u bolalardan so'rab Yüzüyle personel uyon nerede otursa, qaysi uyanı bilen kalırsa biz vagan. Bunda Allah komutu düşürpedi kedan. Bundaklar bunun da Allah komutukiler öğlerini bekçekte olacak. Tekşege vaxtıda hatta bu şu dini aşı ülüma mesela dine dair ya ki video biz bu zamanlarda üyümüzde VC klasik yani bir Peygamberki Muhammed Peygamberimizin değerlerini modup kettiği bir zamanlarda görüşte onu oğurluk hissettik, oğurluk ekip körettik. Şu plastikler çıkıp bağlılar olsun veya ki aşılar nereden yollayanlar olsun. Mesela şu siz nereden aldınız hep sorgan olsa falan dükkanı bağlan. Şu dükkanın ilgisi orun nerede? Adamın ekip bağlan. Bu plastikleri kimlerge beğendiniz, kimler köydesiz bilen. Falançılar köydesiz. Andak şu kim o nerede orunu aşılarının ekip bağlan, muçundaklar bek köp olup gitti. Annekin her kanlar bir zaman yağlı çekken, ya ki mesela kız ayarlarının mı adatı burun böyle nezir çıraklar mescitlerde bulattı. Mescidler kırıp biz yalıklan çıkıp da kırıp. Andan ki nezirler tükendi dua verirler tükendi. Andan ki şu mescidlerge hatta dua katmışıp sen. Yağlık çıkıp mescid kırıp sen. Dep şu banalarım ekir ketkenler şunlar kün. Asosiyatı başlaq bu Xitoyning bana sababları har xil bektalar yoki hech qanday ishingiz yo'q bo'lsinmi masalan bizdagi bu vatandalik nurg'un bundoq soch tekshiradigan bekat tekshirish olib ketadigan kunda tekshirasizda kimligingizni telefoningizni ishim chiqmay qolsa kimligingiz sayrab ketdi deb bo'lgan yoki kimligingiz saqmasa qolsa telefoningizni bir narsa tiqib ekan bir narsa tiqiblar telefondan masala ko'rilib deb aytib qolgan ko'z oldingizda tutib aytib qolgan mushunday ishlarni ananiki mush ayollarning to'lqini ay sabablardan ammo lekin hech bir gunohi hech yo'q qat'iy hamda shunchalik ma'lumotlar shunchalik
Sister Qelbinur says they haven't committed any crime, of course, but Chinese government detained them. If they have a record of going abroad for higher education and then they came back to visit their family members, this is one of them, especially the countries Egypt, Islamic countries, Egypt and Turkey and Saudi Arabia. And if they have if they have apps, certain kinds of apps on their phones, she said that during those years, 2016, 17, it was really fashionable for Uyghur people to keep Quran apps and Adhan apps on their phones, and then they send it to each other. Send it to each other. And after they started to detain people, of course, people delete those apps in fear of Chinese government. But she says they scan your phone, and even though you delete that app, they can find the history that you downloaded this app before, so that they blame those girls, the Uyghur females who are downloading such apps, which is related to their deen, their religion. And another thing that puts you in risk in those period is because you know that it was so hard to obtain passports for Uyghurs prior to 2014 and 15. But suddenly they made it so easy for Uyghur people to get passports, and Uyghur people got it, and then they went and they traveled to different countries, especially the Turkey. Many people went there for doing business and traveling and sightseeing purposes, and then some business people they bought clothes and some kind of items from Turkey, and then they have a store in there, and then they are selling the items, the products that made in Turkey, and then they brought from Turkey. And if you have such items from Turkey, foreign product, which is from Turkey, and you have to go to the detention facility, they don't like it. If you have a record of visiting Turkey and playing and sightseeing in there, and then they detain you and put you inside the camp, especially the countries Egypt, Saudi Arabia, and put you in more risk. And if you go to Hajj, also this is one big thing that directly puts you in that detention center. And it's different. If you go to Hajj by yourself, it's like up more than 10 years or so. If you go to Hajj with a group that government designated for you, so it must be a little bit lower than 10 years, like 8 years or something like that. They even differentiate that whether you did go to Hajj with the group, but it's still it's enough. The reason is enough to put them into the detention camp, but they even differentiated and then give different kinds of sentences, prison terms. And she says these girls, all she's talking about is why these girls end up being in that detention facility, like going abroad to study and downloading certain apps, visiting Turkey or selling Turkey products in their stores and going to Hajj. And now another thing, like Sister Zumra Dawood stated yesterday, it's exactly the same. And they come to the houses of Uyghur people and they check whether they are keeping religious items such as prayer mat and the Quran, our holy book Quran, and some religious like hadith books or any other kind of books that are related to our religion and the deen, and it directly sends them to the detention center. And also another way the Chinese government utilizes is really weird. They go to school and pull out little children and then they treat them really nicely. Oh, yeah, do you like your mother? Do you like your father? Well, yeah, and they say yes, I do. Like, and did they take you to masjid on Fridays? And did they lead you to pray at home? Did they teach you the religion? Did your mother wear hijab, wear scarf? And such kind of questions from innocent young little children. And then sometimes, of course, they reveal the stuff that they would never tell if they know the true reason hidden inside the person who is asking those questions. So this is another way that Chinese government utilized to put Uyghur females, especially in that detention center, into the camp. And
Were
another way,
were there any secular reasons why the girls were in the camps?
um, here I'm stating another one is maybe it will answer your question. And then they issue notice to the community offices in the very low level. It's really close in the very close level to the every single household they check. And then they check and then um, yeah, still this answer is continuum of the previous religious reason. And then after I finish it, I'm going to ask you a question. They also just search the houses were specific, like that we use VCD players, CD players before I left, and of course still they are using it in there. So it was so popular that the VCDs about the life of our Prophet Muhammad, and then it was like people if they find it and okay, where did you get it, and they investigate like track it down the road, and then they find who sold it, and then again, oh, you watched it and I found it from your house. In that case, who did you watch it together?
Mm.
So like it's like a tree. It comes with a lot of branches that actually they track down hundreds of people on the road, so by doing so. And then if somebody passed away, somebody is dead, and then if the nazir is in the masjid, and then if they go to that we give nazir and dine together and pray, and if they participate such ceremonies after relative has died, it also puts them not only puts them the risk, just enough reason. It's sufficient enough to send them to one of those camps. Another thing she said, it's the same thing with that there are so much things common in all of those. They witnessed this in different detention facility centers, but all they witnessed just gives us the same message. How they what kind of lame excuses that the Chinese government come up to put these Uyghurs into those camps. And police checkpoints. She said either they scan your ID card or your phone. If your phone doesn't ring and your ID, when they scan your ID, it rings. And then they come up with such excuses. Oh, you did this, you did that. If the ID doesn't ring and then phone, and oh, I have found this such items in your phone, and then they send them to the detention facilities. So right now I'm going to ask your question of whether do they have some secular reasons to put these females into those detention camps. Qelbinur'da mushu javobingizni anglagandan keyin mushu Hananing qolisiga kelgini Muşu qizlarning endi ko'pinchisi siz dinga bog'lab turib tushuntirib berdingiz. Chet elga chiqib o'qigan bo'lsa Turkiya, masalan Misr deganlarga borgan bo'lsa, andiki nurg'un uchurlarni berdingiz yana. Mushu dinga bog'lamaydigan shunaqa bir sabablar bilan cho'qim bularni soldi mushu lagerlarga. Shundoq sabablardan bizga biroz so'zlab bergan bo'lsangiz. Dinga bog'lamay turib yana qandoq bir shundoq bir çek basmaydigan sebeplerini uydurup çıkarıp bular bizni aşlagerlarga salalaydı.
Bularning yana bir maqsadi qanday ish, qanday bana sababsiz. Yani men avayda o'tganda telefonlarni tekshirdim yo'llarda. Telefon sen nerede telefonunda daimli bassangiz, tıksangiz bana chiqadigan ish bor. Bularning maqsadi bundan bir aniq endi. Avayda deganda qo dini jihatlardan bo'lsin. Andan keyin bularning maqsadi qizlarni men 90 ayollardan 18 yoshdan 40 yoshgacha emas 40 yoshgacha bo'lgan qiz ayollar. Bularning birdan bir maqsadi şöyle qiz ayollarningki nüfusimizni azaltib, ashlarni tug'ut cheklab, ya'ni qanday desangiz u yerdaki tug'ut cheklash operatsiyasi qildirganlar, uzuk sog'izganlar, anandaki odat to'xtatish dori ukollarini urdigan, dorilarni yeydigan ahvollar eg'ir. Hatto nurg'unlarniki bola imitayotgan, yenidan bolasi imitayotgan kelganlarni qanday gunoh hech qanday gunoh yo'q. Ashlarning bola imitayotganlar turib hatto ashlar sutimi to'xtab ketgan. Tumash berayotgan. Hem bularning maqsadi shunday aniq bo'lg'achqa, ish qilib to'y yeyishidagi, to'y qilmoqchi bo'lgan ishlar hech bir sababsiz akirib ashaka sulib olgan. Uning hech qanday bana sabab yo'qki. Qanday bir bana Aşağı akırıp sulagan. Bularning maqsadi shu to'y yeyishidagi shu qizlarni kampaga akirib sulab, ularni to'xtatib, har xil shaklda qiynab, ularni tug'mas qilib, ya'ni shundoq bizning nasl tugutish, irqiy qirg'inchilik bu uchiqashlar irqiy qirg'inchilik bo'ladi. Uning ichiga kirib olganlar shunda, uning turmining ichida yashayotgan, kamp ichida yashayotganlar u holatda. Kamp sirtidagilarmi yana usti uchuq turmida yashayotgan. Mesela ulardan yana shu sirtkilarning ichiga aytib aholilar komiteti mas'ul bo'lib, doktorxona tekshirish olib borasiz. Cho'qim borasiz, tekshirishga bormasangiz, tuqqanlaringizni o'ylashib qo'ying. Xizmatingizni moslashmasangiz, saqchixonaga berib, temir o'rindiqda o'tirlarni yo'llash orqaliqmi, shularni yezish orqaliqmi yana turmi sirtidagi yashayotganlar turmida ular dafsarni qiynab, oshilarmi ularning shartlari var. 18 yoshdan 50 yoshgacha 2017-2018 yildachu cho'qim doktorxonalarga berib, belgilab bergan o'ziniki ambulatoriyalar var, cho'ng doktorxona emas. Aşağılarga berib, cho'qim uzuk soldirish, operatsiya qildirish deb bekitib turdi qarang. 2019-yilga kelganda bu o'zgarib, bu ishi 18 yoshdan 59 yoshgacha borgan. 50 yoshdan oshganlarga tug'ut operatsiya qildirish degan ajoysiz uzuklar, ajoysiz menimcha. Aşılarını yani aşı sırtı yaşayotganlarning ro'yi jihatdan aşılarni qiynab dafsarni qilib, yani shularni aşınchi bolar besimlarni qilib, aşılarni ichidagilarni texi, sirtidagilarni texi. Bu aniqli bu ko'rinib turdiki, mana shu haqiqatan butun Uyg'urlarning o'zini mana haqiqiy irqiy qirg'inchilik hech bir bana sababsiz akirib olganlar bor. Elik so'rasangiz matlab o'zi bosh qiz ayollar kampusida bir er qonun dersi verdiğin adliye mektebining o'qituvchisi şu er o'qituvchi bilan birga qaytib qoldik mashinasiz bilan. Men sirtda shofir saqchini saqlab bu baldir chiqib qoldi ekan, meni bu yerda turib qolsan deganda men shu shofirni saqlab qolsam, mening shofirim kelib qoldi, men bilan birga qaytamsa, men sizning falan mashinani savdish jarayonida meni shofirga da'vat qildim mushu er Xitoy o'qituvchi turib qonun darsiga Aşı davat tutup bu hükümet hazır neymiş kavatıdı. Ben şundan hayran bulanın kavatkanıga. Bular bir yeri kavatkanıga. Bu hemmesi asosiyatın ma'lumotlik, bilimlik adamlar, bilimlik insonlarga bularmiz. Ben bular qonun do'stlik bo'lishga savollarni so'rasam, bular menga aksicha mendan savol so'rayotdi. Ularning savolining sapasining yuqoriligi deydi bu arsaqchi, o'qituvchi. Ben hayran kaldım. Şunçilik ma'lumotlik bular davlatimiz ajoyibsizga. Chunki nurg'unlari Xitoy tilida biladilar. Bular nima uchun bu yerga kirdi? Bu hukumat nima ish qilyapti? Andan keyin bularni har xil shundoq dori ukollanish, tug'maslik operatsiyalar bo'ldi ekan, uzuk soldirishlar bo'ldi ekan. Masalan, dorilar sharqli bularniki odil to'xtatilgan ekan. Hukumat nima ish qiladi? Andan keyin nurg'unlari xomushlarda yashaydigan bo'lib qolibdi. Ba'zilari dori ta'siridamiki, yana bularni bu yerdan chiqib ketsa, masalan, bular jamiyat uchun bir qabohatli bir insonlar bo'lgandek, jamiyat uchun bir vahima bo'ldi bular. Hukumat shunday odamlarni nima uchun bu yerga sulaydi va yoki nima uchun shunday ishlarni qiladi bularga deb shu har saqchi o'qituvchi saqchi shopirga davatgan nurg'un shu gap so'zlardanmi shunga man shunday hayron qolib, man unga hech qanday isbot bilmadim, lekin ashlar dedi. Bu er o'qituvchi yana nima dedi desangiz, bularda xijilomay bu yerdagilarni sinflarga olib keladi. Sınıflar qanday olib tursangiz, birinchi ikkinchi sinf, birinchi ikkinchi qavatga bekitilgan sinf o'quvchilarni jenzibanka yibarban jenziban bu o'zining tilida asorat yibarban jenziban degani shu birinchi sinf qaychi sinfga qaychi sinf degani shunchaq tez bak aqlliqlar yig'ilgan sinf. Sanban koyban deb olibdi. Hamda sanban degani 3-4 qavatdagi shu ikki sinflar tez sinfga bu. Anadaki Vubal Yuban Memben de barıptı. Vubal Yuban'ın 5-6. qavatda ta'sis qilgan sinflar bu osta sinflar. Osta sinf degani davlat tilini faqat tushunmaydigan yoki oz tushunganlar ekan. Bu o'qituvchimiz shuni shu ashadagi soqchilardan, shu yerdagi boshqaruvchilardan so'raydida, bular o'zaro fransuz deyishadigan bo'lgan ekan. Aşağıdan so'rashni his qildi. Mushu er o'qituvchi qonun dars beradigan mush soqchimi shunchalik hayron qilib, nima bo'layotganini hozir nima ishlar bo'lib ketibdi deb o'zining ashindagi saqchi shopirni so'rab, ashidan ish orqali paralish menish tarafda men mushu gaplarni saqchi shopirni saqchi o'qituvchining o'zining og'zidan olganman.
Shu soqchi o'qituvchi Hansu, shundan Xitoy soqchi.
Bu adliya maktabining qonun dars bergan o'qituvchi 70 yosh.
Adliya maktabidagi law school. Bildim. Rahmat.
O'shadan pensiyaga chiqayotgan har o'qituvchiga buni aniq Uyg'urlarga hisoblashlar ma'noda gap qildiki bu ashdan gapi qarab ma'niki bu yilqi mushu bizning vatanimiz yashag'an uzoq yil bo'lgan o'xshaydi deb his qilib qoldim. Shundoq afsuslanib mushu hukumatni shunchalik ayblab gaplardan shunchalik qattiq aybladi bu gaplardan.
Sister Qelbinur says Chinese government doesn't need any excuse actually to put these Uyghur females into the detention centers, and their aim is to decrease our population, and they even put nursing mothers into the camps. And she has seen that the such women were present at those camps. Majority of them, as she has stated earlier, 90% of them is from like teenage to 40, like childbearing age or the marrying age. So they are given such injections and secret drugs, and all their periods are stopped. And then, so this is the Chinese government's aim to decrease the population. This is one thing that she pointed out. So this is what's happening inside the camp and outside the camp. And she said that just the government mandated in 2018 that the Uyghur females from 18 years old to 40 years old, they have to go to designated community clinics, and it goes through putting IUD and doing tubal ligation in there. This is mandatory. If they resist, they said you have to go to the police office, and you have to sit on the iron chair, and you have to be interrogated. So you choose to you choose to go to do the surgery, or you go to the police office. So of course everybody goes in that case. But she says the later than that, in the year of 2018, they changed the age to from 18 to 50 years old. Even you know that even the women over 40 and 45, they still has to go there and then do those procedures. And she also shared one of her experience with the man teacher who is retired from one of the Chinese law schools, and was teaching at the same detention facility about the laws of the Chinese government. And one day, while she was waiting for the car, the driver to come, and she's returning to her home, and while she was waiting, and she met with this Chinese Han Chinese law school teacher, and the law school teacher offered her that you can come into our car, and my driver can take you to your home. And this, of course, Sister Qelbinur agreed, and she went in the car, and she listened the conversation which was going on between this law school teacher and his driver. And he said that, what is our government doing to these girls? They give them injections and the drugs, and if even after they're released from these camps, they become a very kind of indicated that what kind of population that they produce from these women when they release out from the camp. What he inferred from his talk is that maybe because you might be vindictive, right? You might be filled with resentment. So he somehow is very sympathetic towards the Uyghur females in there. And another thing that he said that when I was teaching law to these girls, I realized that majority of them are highly educated and even smarter than me. They ask when I ask them questions, they ask questions back from me, because they put me into difficult situation to answer, because they are intelligent, they are highly educated. No need for them to learn even the Mandarin Chinese, and the majority of them know Chinese, and they are highly educated. Why they end up in being there? The Chinese retired law school teacher who was teaching at the same detention facility with Miss Qelbinur, Sister Qelbinur, is like filled with sympathy towards Uyghur, because he has been living in this region for a long period of time, mixing with Uyghur neighbors and in the Uyghur community. So he somehow managed to stand on the stance of the Uyghurs, and describing his sympathy in his talk, which went on between his driver and him. And he also said that I saw those girls became numb and they don't feel anything. Yes, of course, he said such things. And another thing that Miss Sister Qelbinur shared with us is, like, they separated these classroom into different levels. The first floor and second floor they called the Jianziban. As Jianziban, Qelbinurada Jianziban deganni qanday tushunsam bo'ladi?
Anaqa qaysi ham a'lo sinf, anaqa tez sinfdan bek a'lo qaysi.
Tez sinfdami, yaxshimi? Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. The tier level, the bottom is the best kind of students. It's like first floor, and the second floor are advanced level of students. It means like Jianziban, like really fast and advanced level. And then 3 and 4 is like fast course. They are like intermediate and really good condition. And a 5, 6 floor, the Uyghur females are designated as the slow course. It means they don't know Mandarin Chinese much. Just even when we look at these 2, 3 tier level, this advanced and the intermediate and good, and then this is slow course, and then we can find out that actually the second floor and the first floor, they don't need the education of Mandarin Chinese at all. So their claim and what they are claiming to the world is absolutely a lie.
Sorry, I'm sorry you couldn't hear me. The next, the Uyghurs are going through a genocide. There are many genocide deniers out there in the world, and this is something that I want to discuss next, and this might be difficult for Sister Qelbinur to talk about, but I know she's had the strength and has been able to speak up. Sirwi, one question that I have for her is, why did she not stop teaching at these camps once she found out what happened? So that's one question. Um, the other question,
Why did she not stop teaching?
yeah,
Uh-huh.
what,
Uh,
the use of one Uyghur against another is a part of this tyranny. So I want to know what was going on in her mind while she was there, and realizing that she's part of this horror system of oppression. The next question that I want to really, really focus on, we know that rape is the most humiliating, the most brutal, most violent offense inflicted on a woman and her community. It's not just the woman. The entire community suffers when a woman is raped. And sexual violence and rape are very powerful social weapons that have been used by governments across the world and social movements to perpetuate genocide. Rape is a tool of genocide. It serves to dehumanize, it serves to demoralize, and it serves to punish the enemies of the state. I mean, as we can see even now, as she's relating these stories, women, people watching, oilers watching, the idea is to send the message from the Chinese government that you are enemies of the state and we will punish you. Um, in order, and this is the reason why we're asking, this is why her testimony is so important, and we hope one day that these interviews that she's conducting all over the world will be used in international courts to hold these people responsible and to hold these people accountable for this genocide. So in that, if she can relate to us and testify what she witnessed about sexual violence in these camps.
Hena bu qaytimki sualda sizga 2 narsaga javob berishni aytdi. Birinchi savoli bo'lsa, sizni shu bir qo'rqinchli sistemaning ichida Uyg'urlarni o'zi xo'rlab etib turib, Uyg'ur ayollarni sizni shu o'zlariga shu Xitoy tili o'rgatamiz deydigan, ya'ni bir xo'rlaydigan bir ishqa sizni shu qatnashtirib ig'ili soldi-ku, endi sizni shu ishga qatnashishga majbur qildi. Siz shu vaqtda shundan bir to'xtab qolsam bo'lmamdi, o'tmaychi deb ashtaq bir tashlabla chiqib ketay degandek ashtaq xiyollar kallangizdan cho'qim o'tdi. Shu to'g'riliq bir so'zlab bergan bo'lsangiz, andan keyin yana birsi, endi shu biz dunyoga irqiy qirg'inchilik deb jakarlayotgan vaqtimizda biz cho'qim yo'ritgan yana bir nuqta shu kamplarda, shu lagerlarda Xitoy soqchilarniki qizlarga tajovuzchilik qilishida endi shunaq bir parokandachilik selishi. Endi siz o'zingiz o'sha yerda ko'rgan shunga oid misl qizlarning xo'rliqqa uchrashi to'g'riliq. Shu to'g'riliq bir so'zlab bergan bo'lsangiz, mush ikki narsani.
Bunu da kız ayarlarına beşlik soğalımız şu oldu.
Baştaki birinchi savolga avval javob beraman, andan keyin men takrorlab bersam bo'ldi. Nima uchun siz o'sha yerda shu davomli yana dars o'tdingizmi? Shuni nima uchun shundoq yana davomlashtirishga majbur bo'ldingiz? O'zingiz xohlamasingizmi? Shu to'g'ri so'zlab bersangiz.
Bizni uyga men degan bunaqa her xil şekilde imtihan aldı, uçuk ders ötküzdü, bahaldı. Çünkü ben özüm ali mektepte şu Xitay tili dersi ötküzgen. Xitay tili okugan. Mektepte ben Xitay tili dersi öğrettim. Onun qo'shimcha mening yana shu mektepte kadrlar xizmatini tutaman, arxiv xizmatini tutaman, Xitay tili guruhida tadqiqot guruh boshlig'i degandek nurg'un vazifalarim bor degan. Shu orqali bu kadrlar xizmati intayin maxfiyatchi bo'lgan xizmat shu bu. Buna shu ma'rif idorasiga boramiz, biladi u xizmatni tekshirib kelish jarayonlarida ashamini ko'rgan, bilgan. Andan keyin biz u dars berishning oldidami bizni yig'in qilgan vaqtida manga bir necha xil jadvalni berib berganda oldin uchun qo'l qo'ysa deb. Bu jadvalni bizga o'qishga o'rganmadik. Qo'l qo'ysanglar bo'ldi deganda qo'limizni qo'yib qizil suruqni besib berdik. Andan keyin o'zlari yig'inchi dediki, sizlar Ayşe'ye bağlan, Ayşe'de bağlan, köygen, ağlayan, bilgenli hiç kimle demeyiz. Hattoki tuqqanlaringlarga demaysizlar, xizmatdoshlaringlarga, boshqa demaysizlar, maxfiyatni chin tutasizlar. Shundan keyin agar maxfiyatlik oshkora qilib qolsa, urug' tuqqanlarni o'ylashinglar dedi yana. Ashulalar bor ekanda, urug' tuqqan, chunki urug' tuqqanlar hammasidagi bor bizda, kimliklari bor bizda dedi. Ham chet elda turayotgan tuqqanlarni o'ylashinglar. Deb yig'inni ichib bo'lgan, deb ishlab o'tirib bo'lgandan keyin yana qo'shimcha meni Qelbinur ma'lum bizga u yig'in ochgan bir shu ma'rifat idorasining partikomning sekretaridan so'ng sekretar deymiz, ismi Qelbinur ma'lum deb mana shunday yaxshi muomalaga qilganda qilib sizning qizing Gollandiyada o'qiyotidi deb o'qiyotidi desam, sizning qizingizni biz aka beralaymizmi? Bizlar Jungo hukumati bilan Gollandiya davlati do'stlar qizingni aka beraymiz. Demak, maxfiyat chin tutmasanglar, urug' tuqqanlaringlar, tatal tuqqanlaringlar aka beramiz. Sizlar shu ko'ygan yerga bordivoshlar degan bo'lgan. Bu mening qalbimda shunday aniq ta'am. Andan keyin men o'zim hayron qolgan shu vaqtda. Nima uchun bu savodsizlarga dars bergili borgan yerda bunday chin maxfiyat deb hayron qolgandim. Andan keyin o'zim berib ko'zim bilan ko'rib, abla kampus 6 oy turdim, ayollar kampus 3 oyga yaqin turdim. Shu jarayonlarda his qildim asla. Shuni bizga shunday qattiq besilib majbur etib ekanda bular dedim. Men orliqda berib bir hafta bo'lmasdan men o'zim his qilgan bir haftadan keyin undan keyin ablajiq kelib ketdi. 4-oydan biridan keyin men o'ylagandim. Qanday bir amal chora bordir, men chidug'chiligim qolmadi, bardosh beraman. Chunki uyga borganda uyqu yo'q menga. Men shunday karvat yassamlam, qismot yetayotgan erlar, cho'q erlar o'lmoqlar u karvat memsa yassam aşağı o'ylayman. Mesela soğuk tonlab bitib qolgan vaqtda simut yetib deb o'ylayman. Oldin bir qancha chaydam deb chay ekasam, ashlar mush bir to'maq bir suv zarab ketib deb uni o'ylayman. Tamaq yemasam, tamaq oldimga gilim qilib ashlar bir Xitoydan bo'lmis deyapti shuni qizlar. Keyinki biz ularga davlat til Xitoydan maqsad getib xunga dedi qizlar o'xshab. Şundan ikisini bilmeyenlerge şu Xitay bombasını beğenmediğini anlar. Aşk koydu aşıları. Aşılar olan ki ben tamak emez. Çayım emez, uykum emez. O aşkım ben bunu fakat yoluşum olan diye ben. Yoluşum on bir gün geçe onu açık yapar. Ben bile ayrım yaptı karan yoluşum mu? Ne biçim sen ben bir şey ağırtı yaptın. Sen özden okuluma çıkıp yaptın. Sen benim bir yaram kıldı sen. Bu oldu. Bana bir demeyeyim bu gibi ağlığım yok da. Yoluşum bile ziyade çıkıp yaptık hatta ki. Aşında ki ben 13 gün geçirdim ay ben bu işe amal bulamazsam hiçbir amal yok. Çünkü ben yani uruk tutkunu oynasam maydı benim acım var, akam var, inanırım var. Biz hükümetten buyum yerden işlerine hizmet kıldım. Yoluşum var. Anadaki benim kızım bir yerde. Ben işim olursa kızımla öldüm de. Doktor gelmişler arası kızımla eke pırpas. Kızımın bir yerde bundan turuştuğunda yaşım kadar yaşlı da bana bundan köylerden. Dep ben yani çıday. Dep hiç kandak. Amal çağrı yok bizge. To'xtab qilishga yoki men bu ders bermasa bularni bu deyishga amal çağrımız yok. Shuning uchun shu majburiy bitimda ders o'tib ketdim. Lekin keyin qiz ayollar kamsiq masalan 6 oylik to'xtam bilan borganda u yerga boshqa imzo qo'yganda 2017 2018 3 oyga o'qish mas'uliyati degandi. U yerda qiz ayollar bo'lgan keyin qizlarni men ko'zim bilan ko'rmadim, men ko'zim bilan ko'rganni ko'rdim deyman. Ama lekin ben kulağımı aniq anladım. Öyle kılardı ki bazıları qiyin qısaq çıqıran avazları bütün binani zil qısallar. Bazı dersi turgan ders vaqtlarımızın avazsız o avazlarını. Şunun bilan ben u yerda 6 oy turamay 3 oyga yaqin turib, 3 oydan keyin men o'zim meni odatim kelib ketib, qon kelib ketib, 15 kun doktorga degandim. Shundan keyin bir kuni turolmadim, shu 10-oydan 20-si 10-oydan oxirida shu Ersetiye kopamadım. Kopamaydan yoluşum ya Allah'ım ben fakat bulamadım. Ben kopmadan alıp yok ben doktora apartmaya ben. Benim üyem yağlı oldu. Doktor ilişki bir kere kendi öyle ki Abdülmuray'la Uyghur diye ben doktorhanası da. Şüphesiz küçük beni ilaçtırıp şu doktorhan'a bağladık maşin tuttular. Şunlar doktorhan'a kırıp yatak kırıp lan yatak orduş kıpağını kimin tekşegende kan besimim şu bir keşmedim uyku yok tamak ötmeye gelemdim. 65-45 lira çıkıp kaptı ki benim kan besimim 65-45. Şuna bir tekşirlerken aşağıda harmansak açıktı hatta yoluşum aşağıdan işte mağabay bir şey. Şuna tekşiriyor nekmiş kan köp gitip altın toktumay. Şuna yatakta asma kol insan kantı telefon geldi bana.
Kan köp ketishning sababi o siz bu ziyorat degandingiz shu tug'ut cheklash
tug'ilchak uzuk saqlagan beshta.
Ha,
Birinchi qatimda uzuk saqlagan shu uzukning ta'sirini uqmaydi. Shu
mecburi. Aşlar mecburlar sizni.
chunki u 2017 yilda biz mening birla qizim bor o'sha o'qiyotgancha. Undan keyin bizni qizim bilan qizim tug'ilib keyindinlar qo'zg'imda qilib man uni tug'digan vaqtida yangi siyosat chiqib qoldi. Ikki bolaning oralig'i 3 yosh bo'lmasa bo'lmaydi. Majburiy bolani oldirib yotgan qarang. Oldirib uzuk saqlagan olib shundan keyin man tug'amadim. Undan keyin odat xarakterli bola tushib oldi. 4 qatimdek tug'ibdi man. Tushib ketib bo'lgan uzuk ta'sir qildi ekan, menga yoqmaydi ekan. Shu 2017 yilda biz uzuk saqlash degan vaqtida men shu mas'ul kadr bizning bo'g'ilgan bu deb qo'yamiz biz aholi komiteti mas'ul kadr qilsa men o'zimni kartamni ko'rsatdim chunki biz bir farzandlik bo'lsak bizga Xitoy hukumati planliq tug'ut sharaf guvohnomasi jihozini yuboruvchi deymiz. Ashni bergan timashni chiqdim. Men uzuk azab qilmaydi. Men tug'mayman bu ishimda. Ben onu üzük sallasam bu tiken bana ben size imza koymasam okuyup bırak. Kandan olsa ben imza koyuşka razı. Benim var kilişkemi var desem, o kız valla ben dedim Uyghur kız valla o mukarrem dedim. Aşk kız valla dedi kanlara biz sizni bilimiz, sizni işinimiz, bizden bu yardım şu birden de okudukça işaretçik adamsız. Lekin bu bizden kolumuzdan kelgan bo'lsa, ben ko'rsatdim bunu bir saqchiga topshiramiz. Siz aşağı bu üzük bo'lgandan keyin doktorning shu qog'ozini akab topshirsangiz saqchi ko'rdi. Biz bunu amallık bu yukarıdan düşerken mecburi besim diyendi. Ben yakama inip çıkıp üzük sağızıp, üzük ilgisi pes olup bazı bir ayda kilidi 10 gün, 15 gün sakayım. Bazı 2 ayda bir kilo başlar, 20 kilo sozup gitti daha. Üzükten tesirdi. Adetim toktuma aşağı olup yatakta yatıp yukarısam, asmi sıvasa şuna olan telefon geldi. Telefonu yoluşum aldı. Ağam diye bizden mektep müdürü oldu daha. Liğuncu diye Xitay er müdür, mektep müdürü. Kızaylar kamsizlikler ben bağımağanken u yerning mas'uli bizni ma'rif idorasi uribdi, ma'rif idorasi maktab urib, andan keyin yo'lishim bo'lmadi. Qelbinur maktab bormoq nima ish oldi deb so'raganki, u yerda oqshom kechikmidi bu og'rib ketdi, işte odat to'xtamay, hozir yotoqda desa vaqirab ketdi u. Men anglayapman telefondan. Vaqirab ketdi, nima qilib baldir demaysa, biz u yerga kimni tayyorlaymiz endi deb. Vaqirab ketganda u yo'lishim boshqa gap qilmadi, u mishtim demay shu telefonni qo'yibdi. Tushdan keyin bo'lgani ketdi, maktab mudiriyati bir armonini boshlab Qelbinur ahvolimni ko'rib, menga hech qanday sen qanday yotding, turag'ingni qonma tamda qilsa degan gap yo'q. Osmi kirib, sana besimdek yuqurib ketdi dedi. Qarang, mendan gap elib qasdangan. Haliqi dunyada yali chiqib yerda olmalar dedi. Men dedim, men javob bermasam bo'lmaydi. Men nima uchun men besim bo'ldi dedim. Men ular faqat davlat dars o'tdim. O'xshash, men besim qilmadim. Uni desam, nima uchun bunday og'rib ketding deb. Uqmayman endi bizim işimizni balki to'xtamdi yo uqmadim. Bizning bir ma'lum mashlab yotaqolgan ben shunda bo'lgan. Sen deb gapni imkoniyatim qilsam bo'ldi, yaxshi dam olib ketdi u. Shu ketganda men doktorxonaga yetib, davolanib, oltimda yaxshi bilan uyga chiqib, shu maktab bormidi. Ammo 2018-yilda 2-chi yangi o'qish mavsumida o'zimning maktabimga normal maktab ish qilib borsam, maktab mudiri meni elimga endi Allohga chek shukr deyman. Men aş kamplarga ivetmegeniga 100 ming shukr deyman. Nima uchun mana birdan to'kdim. Mantiq qo'ysam bo'lmaydi.
Siz tiqib qo'ying. Men nim qilay? Deb berganlaringizni bir tarjima qilib qo'yay, ha? Ma'qul. So Sister Hena, she answered your first question. Why did she not stop teaching in there? Why she couldn't? She said that her major in her university was in Chinese. And also at school, she was responsible for documentation of the students, and everything she conducted at school is Chinese. So she's Chinese teacher. So even before she was admitted into one of those detention facilities for men first, and then Uyghur females, and she was required to fill out a form. And that form is about keeping the confidentiality, and she after she signed on the form that the Chinese authorities told her, you cannot reveal anything you hear, anything you see in these detention facilities. Of course, they don't say detention facilities before she was admitted into those schools. Whatever you see in that school, you cannot even talk to your husband, relatives, daughter. Nobody can hear it. It's absolutely confidential. If you reveal it, they threaten her in such a way that we know that you have a daughter who is studying in Netherlands. We can even bring her to you because that's our one of the brother country. We have very good relationship with Netherlands, and we can bring your daughter right here in front of you if we hear that you reveal anything that you see in that schools to anybody. So they say, and she was so surprised. And at the time, if I go to those schools to teach illiterate Uyghur people, teach Chinese, why they request me to sign on such form, and why they have to threaten me in such way. After she went to those schools, she said just after 1 month she taught there is, so maybe after the first day, and she became sleepless, and then she can't eat normally, and then she lost her appetite. And then when she see the water, and they she thinks that they're not given enough water to drink in those so-called schools. And you know that she witnessed one time that one of the religious personnel, the imam or religious scholar, that in her first school that she taught, and they are required to sing songs in requested by the mandated by the Chinese government. They called it Hongge. It means red songs. It means party songs that you have to praise the Communist Party of China, Chairman Mao, and Xi Jinping, so on and so forth. They're so-called good things that they have done to people. So because those elderly people who are imam and the religious scholars, they don't know Chinese well, so of course they cannot learn it well. So one of them couldn't pass the test to sing the song. He couldn't manage to learn it well, and as a result, as a punishment, he was not given that steamed bread that she described earlier. It's called moma in Chinese. So steamed bread, and then that thin rice soup, and he was denied with this food. So he was starving on that day that she saw it with her own eyes, and she started to lose her appetite, and she's experiencing a severe insomnia during the night, and she was walking back and forth, and her husband started to get mad because that you can't sleep now, you're not making me sleep too, because she talks too much about the on the contrary, that the teaching of the Chinese authority. On the day that she signed on that form, she started to talk about what she has witnessed in the camp to her husband at home, and that this is not only haunting to her, and it's also haunting the husband at the same time, and he's mentally distracted, and she couldn't sleep as a result. That she's making noise in the room, and that didn't make him sleep. So kind of their family routine is all upside down, and it caused confliction between the husband and wife. So she said that she after she gave birth to her first daughter, who is studying in Netherlands, and she couldn't have any children, because when she got pregnant to her second child, they say that there should be certain period of time has been passed between two pregnancy, and then just like 3 or 5 years, and then she had to abort the second child, and also they mandated her to have IUD to prevent the further pregnancy. And as a result of that, and when she wanted that mandated 3 or 5 years period has been passed, and when she wanted to be pregnant with another child, she could never manage to. She took out the IUD, but she could never manage to be pregnant again. But it very sadly, the after the Chinese government mandated that everyone from 18 years old to 15 years old, they have to uh, go through that birth control procedures, either IUD or tubal ligation, and then the community office personnel told Sister Qelbinur that she is below 50 and at that time, and then she has to uh, have IUD. And she told them that, you know me, in this neighborhood, you know me, I have only one daughter in my life, and I could never manage to be pregnant again. There is no meaning for me to do this procedure, because I already lost the ability to be pregnant again, and my age is also really old, and why do I have to go through this? And they say, oh, we trust you, Miss Qelbinur, but we have to submit the record of your medical procedure that you did for preventing the pregnancy to the higher officials. It's going to go to directly to the police record and file. So if you are not giving it to this, and we cannot make something for your sake, and you are putting us into danger. So only way you cannot escape the situation. The only way is to go to the designated clinic. They designate certain clinics to do this kind of procedure to women, not ordinary hospital. So you have to go to that clinic and do it, and get that form to me and as a proof, and then I submit it to higher officials. So she did. So she did. So she did, and as a result, and all of those mental trauma that she got in while she was teaching in the camps, and all these family conflicts, and all, and this doing this the IUD stuff. And she said that my body really cannot get used to IUD as a foreign body. I don't do well. It doesn't work for me well. So while she was teaching in the camp, one day she returned home, and when she woke up the next day morning, and she woke up in the blood, and because she just a lot of, just a huge amount of blood came out. And this happened shortly afterwards. She did the IUD, and she couldn't even get up and walk. And then they went to the nearest hospital, which is called Uyghur Milli Tibabet Doktorhanesi. That's kind of Uyghur traditional medicine hospital. It's in it's really Uyghur community area. So that's the closest place that they could go. And then they went to the hospital, and then she was in the pushing the bed, kind of pushy bed. She even can't walk. She couldn't walk at all. So her blood pressure was dropped to lowest is 45, and the highest is 65. It's kind of very low kind, because all those things are caused by the IUD. And then as a result, she couldn't attend her teaching at the school. She couldn't go to that detention facility that she was teaching at the time. Um, so uh, because she didn't report to the school, and then she was absent, and then she received a call, and then that guy that guy's voice was screaming. Her husband actually received the phone, and that Chinese official who made the phone call and said, why Qelbinur is not here, why she didn't come today. Now Qelbinur is very sick. She has no way to go. And then the Chinese official is complaining that he has to call to school first, and he has to call the education authority to find out those numbers, and so on and so forth. And then they are blaming them to not coming to school, not sending Miss Qelbinur even though she's sick. They're blaming, and then in the afternoon, later in the day, this Chinese official went to the hospital that where Sister Qelbinur is resting at a time, and she said he said when he saw Miss Qelbinur, he said, "Oh, you are so the pressure." So you became like this because of the pressure that you have at that school. he questioned like that. Still, Sister Qelbinur says, "Oh no, I didn't have any pressure. It's impossible. I'm just teaching them Mandarin Chinese, and I'm doing my responsibility, fulfilling my obligation. So why did I have to be pressured?" So this is absolutely because of the birth control procedure that I recently went through, or maybe my body is acting up. My period is right now coming in every 10 days, or the shortest, or sometimes like I don't have my period until 2 months is long. So maybe I'm becoming menopausal, maybe because I'm becoming older. Who knows the reason? But I'm not pressured at all. She has to act up like that because if she says yes, like I'm pressured, that she's afraid that they're gonna blame her further. So in 2018, so she's free from that camp teaching, and then she's excused, and she went back to the school, elementary school that where she was teaching, and she was so glad that she finally returned to her teaching, and she's thankful to the dean of the elementary school to take her back. And she only answered your first question so far, so now I can tell her to tell us something about the sexual abuse that girls are going through as a part of this ongoing genocide. Qalbinurada әмді ашу суалға жауап берсеңіз болды екен. Әмді ikkinchi суалға siz shu qizlarninki xo'rliqqa uchragani to'g'riliq o'ylaganlaringizni, ko'rganlaringizni.
U yerda mashg'ulotlar kampusda men chunki o qizlarni men 3 oyga yaqin yil bo'ldim boshqa qizlar bilan yashab dars berdim. Dars berish jarayonida men Uyg'ur uning ahvolini so'radim dedim. Undan sirt yana Xitoy o'quvchidimmi nurg'un gaplarni bir shakildan berish kirish jarayonida qo'rida qaralishib nurg'un ahvollarni so'rab bildim men. Chunki u safda so'rayotganda bosqinchilik qilayotganning ustida bizlar biz ko'rsatmaydigan baxtli. Lekin biz oshlarning ichini olgan ovozlarni chaqirgan ovozlarni anglaymiz. Ya'ni sinfda dars bo'lsa yoki tushlik vaqti 12dan 1gacha 1 soat tomoq vaqti bor. Shu 1 soat vaqtda anglaymiz, ovozlarni anglaymiz. Anandaki bundan sirt men eng ashundan ta'sir qilgan nima desangiz, mushu qiz ayollar bosqinchilikka uchrab bo'lgandan keyingi ifodasi. Qanday ifodasi sınıfga kirgan vaqtidagi odamni sinfga kirgan vaqtidagi o'rinda o'tirib qo'pishi va yoki sinfga kirgan vaqtda qanday kirdi ular shunchalik tasdiq qiynalib kirdi. Ashlar qarablar ma qizlar cho'qim ya cho'qim qiyin qistab ilmagan yoki eg'ir dafsanda uchirgan deb ularning eg'ir darajada minishidi. Andan keyin kichik o'rtada shundoq tasda o'tirdi avaylab xudilik o'rinda mixni o'tirgandek o'tirdida bular. Andan keyin qo'pqa vaqtida qo'polmaydi, o'tiramaydi, qo'polmaydi. Aşı darajada. Aşdan qarab bu qizlarniki men abay degan o'xshash. Bu qizlarni saqchilar so'roq jarayonida navbatlashib bosqinchilik qilgandan boshqa ularga yana shu qo'ldagi tok maqlarda maqat yo'llariga, jinsiy yo'llariga, ashta chiqish orqali qiynab bu qizlarni mushundaq aramida qo'ymagan bo'g'ashqa bu qizlarning menish shaklini o'zgarib ketgan. Shu azobga, shu og'riqqa chidamay o'ltasa qo'psa o'tiramaydi. Shunchalik aniq. Aşılarni ko'rib, mana shu ko'rib turibman, mana 3 oy jarayonida kun tashlab 6 soat, 7 soatlab dars berish jarayonida ko'z oldimda ko'rinib turdi. Shularni hammasini ko'zdan bilib ko'rib, ularning ichini turgan ovozini angladim. Va undan so'ng yaqin do'stimga chiqdim. So'ra xotirasi jarayondami, shu do'stimni haqiqiy ishonchlik aniq o'zim angladim. Navbat ish bosmoqchi qildig'ini, hatto tug'uchak yetib turibmi yana dori ichib, ukollarni urib turib, shu tug'uchaklash operatsiyasini qildirish orqali uzuk sog'lish qilib turibmi yana shu aramida qo'ymaydiganligini ashlarniki. Kamp lagerlar ichida mana shunday azobni har xil shaklda bosqinchiliklar uchrab, dafsanchilik uchrab, qo'rlanib, o'zining chachlariga yig'ilolmay, chech tushirib etilgan, badaniga yig'ilolmay, qarshilik bildiramagan. Qarshilik bildirsa ularni urib tashlab yo shu o'tirayotgan va yo'tkidoq deb boshqa yoqqa ketgan. Undan sirt yana u yerdagi qiz ayollarni olmishib turadi. aşağıdaki azrak cini var, erkek kıgıdak, azrak mağdurum olar bağlanı, bular kul zavutlarına, kul işçilikle ekipajlarla yüklep gitip bağlan, erlerim şu, aşk kız ayarlarım şu, almışım, yüklülük bular. Hem de bu kampı lagırdan içine ular özlerinin hayatını kurtulduruşunu o'ylashib bakmagan, hemmini unutgan dalda xuddi doğruya bağlan xamışlardek aşkırıp dersin anlasın. Andan keyin shu kampga ilib chiqsa kamerga, kamerda o'tasa, ele chiqsa, qo'shiq to'ysa, shu Xitoy mo'misi yesa, biz uygatgan shu qizil naqshni uygansa, undan boshqalarning qalbida hech narsa yo'q. Ularning mangisi patgandek, ular ashunda qamishlarda yashaydi kamp lagerlarda. Bular ashunda yashaydi. Kamp lager sirtidagilarmi yana xuddi o'zining hayoti badaliga, o'zining erini qutuldirib, qonunni qutuldirish yoki ota qutuldirish uchun Xitoylarga majburiy tegib assimilyatsiya bo'lib, hatto Xitoylar besim qildida, masalan, aholi komitetidagilar yo soqchilar, sen bu Xitoyga tegsa, tekta erini qutqizib aytamiz. Sen bu Xitoyga to'y qilsang, otadan hayot qoladi yoki sen jin hayot qoladi desa, u amalsiz ash Xitoyga tegishga majbur bo'lib, har xil shaklda assimilyatsiya bo'lib tugab bordi. Undan sirtmaylar shu lager teshidikilarmi sırt yaşayotganlar suç turmada yaşap, ularni o'zining hayotidan umid uzgan. Elaqi jini pichoq tuyib, masalan, bizda bir gap bor, elaqi pichoq usxondan o'tib jilik tegdi deb. O'zining hayoti butunlay umidini uzgan. Ular hech bir elaqi ovozni chiqarolmaydi, hech bir zamonda hech qanday bir umid ishonch yo'q. Masalan, o'zining hayotidan umid yo'q va yoki tuqqanlar yo'q. Xuddi ko'chaga qarasangiz, bir turkum elaqi xomushlarni ko'chalarga qo'yayotgandek. Aşında ya bir sizi paranış ehvaliş yok iş kadar muşundak yaşap yolu kızım intayın içinişler bulanı ben bu oylasam hiç bir zamanda menenki isimden fakat çıkıp bakını yok maalesef unutup kalmayacağım bulanı bu facialarını.
İşte bir tercüme vereyim. She stayed in the women's prison camp for about 3 months. She says from 12 o'clock to 1 p.m. It is their lunchtime, Sister Kalmar's lunchtime. And during the lunchtime, while she's eating, she often hears the screaming coming out from the interrogation rooms. And she suspects that some of her students went through the sexual abuse by looking at the posture, the way that they walk and the way they sit. And when they came out from the interrogation room, sometimes these girls had a hard time to sit on that little chair. They sit on it as if they are sitting on needles, something punching them from the chair. And if they sit and then when it is time for them to stand up, it's so hard for them to stand up. So they would rather sit or just stand up. If they stand up, they have a hard time to sit down again. And the way they walk absolutely absolutely indicates that, and that they went through some sexual abuse, and like Chinese police, most probably they have taken turns to abuse these girls, and even that they use the electric batons and put such instrument into their private parts and abuse them into that degree. And then their facial complexion, the body posture, exactly is enough for Sister Qelbinur to suspect what went on minutes before in that interrogation room. So she has no doubt at all, even though she has not seen that. Of course, they do such kind of a humiliation and persecution and abuse in the private, in their own privacy, right? There is no way for Miss Qelbinur, Sister Qelbinur, to see such things. But from the screaming that she has heard, even while she's teaching, she hears such voices. She heard such voices. So from those voices and from the ways that the girls walk and sit, and that she has no doubt that they've went through such humiliation. And also that, as she has mentioned earlier, with the talk which went on between her close friend. And indeed, such a kind of abuse is like present there in every single minute in that camp, in those camps. And she says even the people, even the Chinese authorities, and they give them like birth controlling injections, secret drugs, and they still, you see, on top of it, they do such kind of abuses. And then they rotate these girls in, of course the men too, and she never managed to teach one student for months. Usually they just disappear a certain period of time. They always rotate the inmates in there. So she said that those Uyghur girls that she saw, as if they became numb like robots, and then uh, as if that they are created, they are creatures who are created for having that steamed bread and the rice stew, and then sing that red songs to praise the Communist Party of China. They don't think about anything else. uh, they just become numb to the things that going on around them. They just live like that in those cells. And outside, the Chinese authorities cannot force marriages in a way that community officials come into houses that their family members were taking to the detainment centers, so-called re-education center. Say, if you would like to rescue your relatives from those education centers, you should marry with Han Chinese, so that your father or your brother can be released, and or so on and so forth. So they, or your daughter should marry with this Han guy, so that your son or your husband become free. They give, throw such conditions in front of them and force them to get married in order to, uh, as if like making them complete to the one honorable task of rescuing their family members from the re-education centers. And she said the situation at the outside is as if that we have an old saying in Uyghur, it means like the knife went through the muscle and it already reached deep inside the bone. So it came to an ultimate degree that no one can bear. Inside the camp or outside the camp, the situation are both unbearable.
Thank you, Jazakallah khair. Thank you so much for your testimony, for your words, for having the courage, despite threats to your family, to your life, to be able to speak and be here. We know even currently it's a struggle. You're not in a stable condition where you are at. Um, your voice is powerful, it is needed, and we hope to get this voice to as many places as possible. And for those of you watching, have when you hear this, it is incumbent on you to share this with the rest of the world. Sister Qelbinur has done her job. She has shared the story with you all. We have brought it to you. The least you can do is share her story. Don't deny it. Don't deny it that space. In it needs to be heard. So to all of our audience, and we're hoping to use Qelbinur's story in a report and submit it to elected leaders once it's ready. Please use it yourself as well. We can't stay silent. We cannot stay silent anymore. I Throughout this series and throughout talking to these women, there's so many common threads in each of they don't know each other. They've never met each other. They don't they come from different parts of the cities of the region. Yet so many commonalities in each one of their stories. How much more do we need to hear in order to jump into action? please, this entire week, spend some time, 10 minutes, calling your elected representatives, wherever in the world you are, reading about this, sharing this with friends and family, building that power. We are so powerful. We don't realize the power of one. We just saw these women, each one of them, get over their fears. We don't have families that are in the camps. They do. We don't have families that are being threatened by the Chinese government. They do. Yet they have gotten the courage to speak. Sister Sirwi still has a nephew in the camp. Imagine the courage it is taking for her to lead this project, to translate these testimonies for us. The least we can do is make sure that is shared and people listen to it. Thank you so much for joining us. Please visit. We're going to put a action alert down in the comments. A week of action for Uyghur women. This is a women's rights issue. This is a human rights issue. This is a religious freedom issue. Please make it your issue. Assalamu alaikum.